All right. Hello, what's up, everybody? Race Brain Podcast. Jack Bowers here. Bracken Crocker's here. My name is Rich Ryan. What's up, fellas?
Doing pretty well. How's it going, Rich?
Doing great. I'm interested in what Bracken has to say.
Well, I'm fired up for Jack.
We always
He's moving
are.
again.
I'm moving again.
That's exciting. But I was spitting some fire this morning, Rich. I got on the heater this morning, yeah. So
for some for some TRP?
No. Old man basketball league. Come on
Oh
now.
man.
Okay.
You hit dude, how much is your game modeled after Jokic now? Are you just trying to drop
Zero.
dimes? Like
I mean, always. I would say
It's like Jaylen Brown.
more Brunson.
just Jaylen Brown can't dribble. Jalen Brunson's a good one.
If Brunson played 50% slower, that's how I'd play.
You think you're 50% as fast as Brunson?
75%.
Slow. He's 70. If he played 75% slower, then potentially.
Yeah. No burst, nothing. Just
Herky jerky.
real herky jerky. A lot of 1 foot leanaways. Never really putting yourself in a position to get hurt.
In your
Right in the
prime,
sweet spot.
in your prime, do you look at Austin Reeves like, damn, that could have been what could have been?
No, I mean I was never good at basketball.
Come
Rich.
on.
I was like D3, low level D3 was my ceiling.
There's still an
Starter?
Austin Reeves out there, D3.
Would you have started?
Maybe by like
Depends on how bad the team was. Yeah.
Rotation
I
player,
would-
basically.
I'd say the comparison was Ginobili. I wasn't good like him, but I played with those angles.
Oh, Crafty.
Yeah.
Last time I asked you, you
Slashing.
said Caruso. That was your guy. Just like
Caruso
just
slashes too.
only because of
The hair.
Yeah, the likeness.
Probably because of defense. I wasn't good offensively in high school.
Yeah.
No, I was never a good basketball player.
That's why I'm looking at Christian Brown right now. I'm like, that's my guy. Only does like layups, garbage putbacks, and plays hard defense. I'm like, that's my dude right there.
Did you-
Wins
Anyone
games.
can play defense.
Wins games.
Did you see how screwed over big men were in the NBA draft?
Hmm.
What do you mean by
Like-
screwed over?
They just didn't get drafted in general.
Except the number one pick.
Yeah, I forget the guy from UConn. Starts with an S. He
Not
didn't
sure.
get drafted, and he was like the Final Four MVP.
There's precedent for that though.
Yeah, I know, but
Upperclassmen playing well in the tournament doesn't really get you much.
the guy from Gonzaga, Drew Timmy, or I don't like that.
He's so. He's
I
like
know,
not
I
that
understand.
big, not that athletic.
If you stick till your senior year, you probably there's a reason you didn't.
you don't got
declare
that.
early
You don't
and
got
stuff,
that
but-
gas.
But yeah, but big men just weren't getting drafted. But
Usually-
it's a different league.
Usually we save NBA talk to the back half.
I know.
The back like 2 seconds of this podcast. We're just jumping off leading up, but we have some stuff to talk about.
Yes, we do.
We got Battle Bunker through now, West Coast Regional. We had 2 different DEKAFITs, DEKAFIT in Carolina and DEKAFIT in Spain, which I think is an interesting topic. Oh, there's also a Madrid, Jack. I know we talked about that before. Like I didn't mention there is one more race. So there's actually 7 more DEKAFITs worldwide. We thought we were like almost done with the season.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, there are
Nah.
2 left. Nope, there are a lot more.
There's a lot more than we think. And they got the road show out there, like getting some of these events going, which I think is a good thing. But I kind of want to start with Battle Bunker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a movement? Can we?
Battle
we're in
Bunker
agreement?
works.
We're
I have
there?
adjacent to Battle Bunker because Chris Rogloski did Battle Bunker last year, right?
She did.
So
Did you see she did an Ironman?
I did see she did an Ironman. Just like got on a bike, and
She was,
I don't
she was
think
like
she
holding
swims.
something that looked triathlon specific, and she was standing there. I'm like, oh, she did duathlon. Cool. And I saw the caption. I was like, no, it's an Ironman.
13 hours for Ironman, because I don't think I'm not saying that she has the frame and engine and she's very good at skill stuff to be a good swimmer, but I don't think she swims.
It's too far of a swim
Huge
to not
difference.
swim.
Yeah, 2.4 miles. You need.
What's
to
the
know what you're
longest? What's the longest you two have ever swam?
I've been over a mile before
doing.
You have
25
in a
minutes
pool. That's soft, Jack.
Horrible.
That's light.
I was not doing flip
I've swam a
turns.
mile twice, and it's long enough that by the end of that, because I wasn't swimming, I just decided to swim a mile. Intercostals, shoulders, like everything that doesn't get used in a swimming motion regularly was just barking at me the whole time. And I just got done and thought I wouldn't want to do that 1.4 more times if I'm sitting on a bike
No.
for 5 hours.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty long. I used swimming as cross training in college. I would do
Oh.
it at least twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, like in the mornings as my,
You got
my
that
double session.
barrel. I
And
can
I was,
see that.
I'm very slow. I'm like a,
All
I'm
right.
like a, I'm like a turtle, like not a turtle on ground, like a turtle in the pool, even slower. But
Dang.
like, so it takes a long time. And
Turtles are pretty fast. I don't know if you've seen some nature
Oh, that's
movies,
true.
but
Tortoise,
they're-
maybe
they're-
you're
Tortoise.
saying.
I'm thinking tortoise.
Yeah.
Tortoise. That was my joke. But
You
turtle.
ever do a
yeah.
try?
No, not interested.
I did one a few years ago. I wasn't a fast swimmer either. I think I was 133 per 100, which isn't going to blow
See,
anyone's
I-
doors off.
I don't even know what you're saying right now.
Okay.
That's how little.
Per
And
100.
it's-
Per 100 yards,
Yeah, that's
133.
not fast. I was talking about this with Audrey yesterday because she was
She's a
a
swimmer.
really good swimmer back in the day. And she's like, yeah, I would probably, if you're just some mediocre level swimmer, you're just trying to finish, like definitely 90 seconds or faster. So that was kind of her bar. She's like, you should probably aim for like 1 minute per 500. I'm like, that's not happening.
You're under the bar, BK. Under
1 minute for 100.
Or 100, so
500.
not per 500. I'm just so used to.
No, I would never claim
the-
to be a fast swimmer.
Yeah.
It's
not?
open water.
it was open water.
I'm a good swimmer, but I don't swim, so I'm not a fast swimmer.
You're able to swim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
No drowning here, but
Mm-mm.
moving fast, not happening.
I just find triathlon just like almost the exact same as just like running, right? Like it's just taking on two different modalities, but basically a very similar experience. I just wouldn't find it that different and exciting enough, even though like hybrid is just kind of the same, but just
Yeah, I was like, isn't that
broken
your
up a
sport
little
right now? though?
broken up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But there's like strength elements, right? It's all capacity.
Use your arms.
All capacity. Like that's just all it is.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, great. I'll just do exactly what I've done for 20 years in running, and now I'll just do it on the bike for longer. And
I
I'll
like
just do it in the pool for longer. You like it?
Yeah, I don't know if I would ever get into it.
You like
But
watching
I-
it, right?
I do. Yeah. I like it because it is different enough. The skill component of swimming and then the different needs to be a monster biker. I like how that balances out on course.
What's your
But I
favorite
like
viewing
ITU
distance?
style.
Okay.
I like draft legal triathlon more than non-draft legal, because non-draft legal is just engine
straight line.
and crazy output as long as you can hold it.
Hmm.
And I like watching tactics and battles. So I like draft
Right.
legal tries.
Agreed.
Check it out on Peacock.
I
ahead.
got a tangent on that. So you mentioned Chris, obviously. Is this the year of people who we associate with OCR doing other things?
Yeah.
So we saw a lot of people doing sky running that Meet the Minotaur and or the Minotaur Sky Race in Canada. We've seen plenty of the top athletes go to Europe as well to do some of the races. So I feel like branching out, and a lot of people are trying DEKA High Rocks the first time this year as well. It just seems like everyone talks about it being a funnel to other sports, just giving stuff a try, but we're really seeing it recently.
It's been almost completely split. OCR is not existing the way that it used to, and we're seeing athletes like pick the two that OCR combined the two, strength and trail running. Now it's like, okay, now we have to choose which
Mhm.
direction we're going to go from here. And yeah, we're seeing that entirely. Like I still talk with the people on Torque, but when we talk, it's not about OCR at all anymore. No one's doing the same events. It's just splintered so much.
Yeah.
People aren't traveling the way they used to for events. So yeah, it's just where we're at.
It's interesting that OCR was like a gateway drug back into falling in love with fitness for a lot of people, or
Mhm.
falling in love for the first time.
For sure.
OCR introduced road runners to the trails and the mountains, or it reintroduced training for running for people who didn't have a reason to run anymore post collegiately. And it got everyone hooked on it again. And then they're like, it's not really giving me the buzz it used to. I'm going to go into this further. And it's weird. It looked like an escape route for people who weren't good enough at purely one version of running. And now it did the opposite. It got them so much better at their all around running that they're going back to that, outside of the people who are going all in on hybrid.
So you think it's two way instead of one way? Because me personally, coming from, and it was just like you guys coming from a track and road background, I don't see myself ever going back that direction. It's I'll find something new. Like even if I don't stay in something that involves running, like I could see CrossFit or something, or going back to ultimate frisbee, or just doing something else. But I couldn't see myself going the other direction and just being like, let's go back to the roots. So I'm worried that a lot of people, once they find their new thing as well, they're not going to go back to OCR because they found their new thing, and it's just hard to go back to something before. Like, definitely trail running rejuvenated me wanting to run again. I 100% agree with that statement, because I couldn't see myself running on the roads or anything, or doing a lot of specific track repeats anymore. And I know that DEKA and hybrid is flat ground, faster speed stuff compared to what you do on the trails, but it just has that extra component rather than simply doing one thing. So I see it more of a one directional path.
Yeah, I can see that. But then you see someone like, I guess you get fit again. And as a runner, you want to see what that does to the thing you knew. Like Kirk gets fit because of OCR, and suddenly he signs up for a track 5K. And Gaudet's running marathons, and Arneson ran an indoor mile, and Nick Mask, I believe, ran something on the track. And you see these people going back and doing things they used to do, because they're like, I have this new type of fitness. I don't have the speed I used to have, but I have something else, and it'll be fun to go play around with that thing I used to love. And I wonder if this won't come back full circle if OCR offers the thing they used to love. Like if Spartan does a throwback series next year or the year after, and they go like Killington, Montana, Asheville, Seattle, and everyone's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a couple Spartan this year because it looks like it's gnarly again. And I've been running roads and trails for like 2 years. I was never this fast in OCR. I wonder if it will come back.
In my own personal bias here, I would imagine that the trail runners who have gone, the people who did run Meet the Minotaur or whatever, they would get back into a series like that. But for people who have gone into hybrid and have pushed all their chips into hybrid, I don't see it. I definitely wouldn't.
How long do people typically, like if you're looking at the people who are doing hybrid, they were in OCR for 5-10 years roughly. How long has hybrid really been around in the US, at least? Much less. So they're probably going to try that for a few years, and then you kind of might be reaching the age where you're at your physical peak and you're like, is it worth going backwards? Should I stick with what I'm doing? It's a weird dynamic.
I wonder about hybrid because it is the hot new girl in class right now, but like OCR was that. And then everyone's like, we have to modify, we have to advance, we have to innovate. And no one was ever happy with whatever that next thing was. And hybrid is all the rage, but it's so sterile and so predictable that eventually the training will get flat. You'll just realize I've done about as much as I can do to ever get better at walking lunges. Or my ski is my ski, or I can't go faster than unbroken wall balls. Like, what am I going to do? And if they don't shake things up, I wonder if eventually it'll run the course of OCR where, all right, I've got this fitness, but I'm 40 now or 39. Do I want to just keep crushing myself with 3 days to be good for all this? Or should I go try something new? I don't have that answer, but I wonder when they have to pivot or innovate with what they do.
I mean, I think the triathlon conversation is ultimately where hybrid could end up. I think that should be kind of the goal. And it's not one unit, right? It's all different companies testing out, seeing how viable of an option it is to invest in, but I think it could be as popular as triathlon. The accessibility to people is just so much greater, and for OCR, it's a lot of it. It can just boil down to novelty, and then novelty, if it's the same over and over, it loses the novelty. Where triathlon is the same, road running is the same, and it's about how objective it is in putting the training. Yeah. It's not for every single person, right? It's not for the person who wants novelty, who wants differentiation in their training. But triathlon is huge, right? And it's just all you need. And I think hybrid's even more accessible than triathlon just because of the barrier of entry in terms of a financial needs. Traveling for a triathlon, bringing your bike, it's just crazy. Like, all you got to do is bring your RC Elite Ones, your Hyperion Tempos, and then your what else? Three or four shoes is all you need to bring.
Yeah,
then you're good to go.
That's true. And the one thing OCR never had was quantifiable training metrics that were guaranteed to carry over on the course.
Right.
everyone had to come up with their own metrics. Like I run the 15-15 challenge, and I run a 5K time trial, and I run the incline. And between the three of those, I know my speed and my incline running and my incline hiking are all on point. And then if I combine that with strength training, it usually shows up on course. But if it's a muddy course, I don't really have a sim for that. And if it's at altitude,
Right.
like everyone had their own. But the thing that hybrid has for it is that it's 100% black and white. Like we get lost in the minutia of sleds and do we have 16 turns or do we have 8?
Right.
But you know what all the options could be, and you can train all the options. Like you in Colorado cannot train for Seattle. You just can't.
Or yeah,
And
or like
Well, maybe last month with how much rain we got. But
and that's
Yeah.
like the thing. You can be so prepared, and then you show up in Jacksonville, and half of it is in a lake, half of it's in a pond. You're like, oh, okay, I didn't.
where in hybrid, the only way you don't get to access your fitness is if you miss pace and crack. So I think it does have that, where that type of person that really craves the metric will always be able to do what they do every year in Ironman. We run the same course for the most part. It gets changed a little, but I can go to Ironman Cozumel every year and compare my times and compare to my peer group and percent of winner and all that great stuff that data-driven people want, where OCR, you were going after an experience. And experiences have to continue getting bigger in order to give you that same oomph out of the experience. And so eventually you're just going to run yourself right out of the sport.
I do think that for all the, the critiques that OCR has gotten through the years, like whether or not you agree with the 3K series, they did innovate there. If you've gone to a race this year, they have like a new, I don't even know, war zone. You have to crawl under stuff and hop over wall, like go under barbed wire before you even reach the start line. They're doing a few things that are different so that it's not completely identical in the past. So they are innovating a little bit this year, but I do hear your points otherwise. I'm just kind of throwing that out there.
Well, and whoever starts any sport doesn't make the sport. Like the people who invented football and played for the first 50 years would be horrified at the changes to the game as it goes on. Same thing with baseball, same thing with anything really. They never approve of what comes next, but it has to catch the masses in order to live long term. And so OCR just might, and hybrid might have to be that, where all of us who were part of, like, feel we were part of the founding of it, have to accept that we are not the long term target audience because we can't be.
Let's look at other sports. 3-point line didn't exist. Pitch clock in baseball didn't exist. It was a heavily running based sport for football for all the years. Hockey, they didn't even wear helmets. Like goalies didn't wear helmets. Crazy. Like the just basic stuff that we just take for granted. That's just part of the sport these days.
Can you imagine if you went back to like Johnny Bench and said, you know what we're going to do in a few years? When we go to extras, we're going to put a runner on second because it's going to make fans happier. Like, can you imagine the response you would have got from him in his era?
They should have done that shit earlier. They waited way too long to make changes, and it like killed the sport. That shit is boring.
And yet we can all
games
agree,
are 40 minutes quicker, and they're
And I still don't watch.
Most of us can agree it made the product better, but it pissed off the diehards, the earlier generation. So we might not be the right people to ask, how do you like keep OCR from losing people to the trails and everything, because the trails have so many more offerings.
Exactly. Like you can't, if it's the scenery and the terrain that is the novelty, OCR is limited, and it probably is met. It's probably has done as much as it possibly could. Where that race in the Canadian Rockies, you're not going to put a rig out there, but it's going to be like so spectacular.
Yeah.
Where if it is the demands and the pushing yourself and the mental fortitude, there's still events that you could do for that. Like you could do like a Go Ruck event, or a Tough Mudder.
You live in an area that I don't know how the trails are and stuff. Obviously in Colorado and West Coast, we kind of have better options and stuff. What's the trail scene where you're at versus, I know OCR, everyone talks about there's very limited options in the Midwest. What's it like for both sides of the table?
I mean, if you draw, let's say, a 20-mile or a radar, what would that be? A diameter, 20 miles in any direction. I have 1, 2, 3, like 4 places I can go run trails.
But I'm talking races, because you can't just do
races. You get mom and pop stuff here and there. Okay. We have Frontline OCR. We have Savage comes.
I think Jack is just trying to talk shit.
He is.
No,
And
no,
but
I'm
he's right.
Johnson. Nope.
I'm just asking, like,
No, he's
trails.
asking. He's just
yeah.
trying to prove a point and be like,
I run
sucks for you.
90% of my volume at 2 different trail systems. One's a 2.4 mile loop, and the other one, it's an out and back. And if I get creative, I can get up to 8 miles on the trail system. So it's just limited. But I also do believe that when we see exodus from participation in fringe sports, now there's no stats behind this, but I would say at least 50% of the complaint is that I can no longer be competitive. Like, I think part of the reason people fell in love with OCR early or hybrid early was because the sport was so diluted that you were competitive again and you felt like one of the best, and you were one of the best, and you got acclaim, and you got Instagram followers, and you got free flights, and people wanted to take pictures with you. And then as the sport fills up, it's not as fun anymore because it's not as raw as it used to be, because now all these fast people can just come in and win. It's like, no, those fast people would have come in and won back then. There's like, who's the new wave? Arneson? You think he wasn't gritty enough to handle Killington? Like,
Right.
you took Emma Cook Clark. You think she wouldn't have handled like San Jose back in the day? It's just part of the reason like the people loved it so much is they were good at it.
And that extends down to age groups as well.
For sure. Yeah. People were chasing clout, and they can't get it as much anymore. And I'm as guilty of that as anyone. It's not the same sport.
It sounds like a personal
one of these podcasts. Right.
Sounds
here.
like you were just kind of dumping it out there. Like, you know what?
Yeah, how many races would I have shown up to so far in iffy shape if I could have won it? Like, all of them. All of them.
Yeah, good point.
But returning to its roots, I don't think solves that problem for people.
I don't think so either. I think it's just going to need to be, it is either just going to need to be embraced, this 3K format, or it's just going to have to be a Tough Mudder style of racing again, where it is like camaraderie, challenge, like extra challenging, and you come out the other side with a great experience.
Mm-hmm.
But from the competitive side, I just don't, or European style, or you race in Europe, right? Like, it seems to be doing well enough there.
Yeah.
That, and their style is a little bit different. That's more ninja warrior-y, which we have not really embraced here. So maybe that's the option.
Even with the Tough Mudder side, if you look at WTM, that's unique. That's different. That's one time a year. Who's doing that? You haven't seen Atkins since like 2016 do that.
And rumors no money this year.
Yeah. It's like you have these new faces. They're unbelievable performances, but that's not really different than what you're seeing in OCR for the most part.
Right. All right. That wasn't on the agenda.
Hey, sometimes it happens.
We had some complaints. We didn't talk enough OCR the last couple episodes, that it was all hybrid, and there they go.
Well, that's what we have to talk about. We just, there's some OCR talk, and it's always like, hey, is OCR like completely dead? And we're like, yeah, but we're going to say yes over the course of 15 minutes. So there you go.
I don't think it's completely dead.
No.
I think in the we are xenocentric here. How about that?
Okay, that's what I said.
We just had
okay in Europe.
We just had an athlete, Cody, on from he's Canadian, but he lived in China for years, and he talked about how China has this huge swell of OCR happening, Spartan specific.
Great.
And we have Europe having a swell of OCR. We're dying here, but we might be able to latch on to the coattails of them and ride it back into prominence.
Yeah, I sent you guys some links. They have like televised national series races that just like what OCR Report does and stuff. They've got professional commentary, and
those links were insane, dude. I was like, yeah.
Look, Cody sent them to me directly, so
I ain't clicking on these.
These are the kind of links that I get from weird buddies at 3 a.m. You don't click on them.
No, I've learned that lesson.
No, not dead, but potentially dying only in the U.S. In Canada, screwed always.
Yeah,
for everything.
Europe, if you saw the number of like when Sergey Perelygin doesn't even get top 50 at OCR European champs, and he just wins Spartan Race Worlds, there's some good talent over there.
Didn't go top 50.
He DNF'd in the 15K, and he got like 53rd or 56th in the 3K.
And I guess
12K for the long course, but yeah.
Like when you're talking about this, I'm really not that interested in watching these other like countries go at it in OCR, and probably it's because of the lack of familiarity with who they are, but also just like it's not that like fun to watch.
Interesting. Because last year during a rehab, I got way down in some European OCR YouTube trails. They get after it over there. Watching
Right. Maybe I'll
Buell
watch.
and
OCR series is
oh
so
my
good to
goodness.
watch.
They're
Vikings.
legitimately good. What they're doing right now reminds me of Spartan in like the teens, late or mid teens over here, where you have people where they're running and it's like watching Woods or watching Hobie or people like that. And you're like, these people are legitimately fast. Like they look like they could go drop a crazy half or full marathon, and they have, and they're good on obstacles and good on terrain. I think they're actually surpassing our OCR now that we don't train for it anymore. They might just be better than us.
All right, maybe I'll watch. And I do enjoy watching like the trifecta, but which is mostly international athletes.
Yeah. I'll send you some links on YouTube, not billybilly.com. So, or whatever they use for their equivalent YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever you got to do, send that through some sort of scan before you.
If they've bought in to the 3K, we might see like 75%. If all the nations send all their best people, you might see like a 75% foreign podium at Worlds this year. They have so many guys that can just 75%
podium?
Oh, like top 10, I'm saying. Like you might see
3
7
out
European
of-
athletes.
I was like 2 out of 3 is not 75%.
No,
but yeah.
you get an extra half of one person.
Yeah.
So how is this as a segue to Battle Bunker?
Let's
you like
hear
it?
No,
I'm just asking you. Was this all a good intro?
What you just said as a segue? Well, I almost grabbed this a line that you said as a segue, but it would have been insulting to everybody and everyone involved. So I'm not going to do it. I'll do it later.
Are you feeling okay today?
Why?
Because the Rich I know wouldn't hold back to step on someone's throat.
Rich, last time when we were having our debate
Turning a new leaf,
improve high rocks, he had that line. What was it, from Billy Madison? Or
I didn't.
You had it ready, but you didn't use it, and now you're holding back on Bracken again. Like we need the inner Philly coming out.
I'm trying to turn over a new leaf here. Sun's out. Got the European
athletes to your roots
coming at my neck, dude. Alphonse, he's gonna show up at DEKA Worlds, and he's gonna be ready to fight.
And you're gonna have the world championship title, and
he's gonna be ready to fight.
Because Jack provides comedy, I provide blathering rabbit holes, and you are here for the tough love and the insults.
Okay.
Perfect description of the show.
You mentioned something about not very competitive field or watered down field of competitors, and has been like, well, speaking of,
oh yeah, that's fair.
Let's talk about Battle Bunker. How's that?
You ever been in a tournament where the top seeds failed to show up as often as Battle Bunker this year?
Tournament? What kind?
Like anything. Like you seed any other sporting competition, you're like, oh, we need to watch out for them, and it turned out none of them showed up to the competition.
Lauren showed up.
Lauren showed up because Lauren shows up.
So yeah, there was only 15 men that showed up, 17 women out of 21 that were invited, and I was one of those. VJ was one of those, and Os was one of those. Kent didn't do it in the beginning, and the athletes who did show up. They were still high quality athletes, right? Like Isaiah on the men's side. Let's just go through the qualifiers. Cole. Isaiah won. Cole was second. Tyler Davis third. Jake Gibbs fourth. Clayton Foster, Gunther Klaus, Mike Brown, Ryan Herring, and Jay Flores. Those are the qualifying dudes who will make it to the Hypercon.
Second letter of the alphabet.
Hypercon. Okay.
Hypercon.
Okay. And then on the women's side, we also had some really good athletes show up as well. Lauren Weeks, Calypso Sheridan was second, Samantha Faddis, Carly Wopat, Katie Simpson, Allison Outlaw, Brittany Bangert, Jordan Woodvine, and Lauren Montal rounds out the top 9. So some familiar names for sure.
Yeah.
Some familiar names
I was more excited about the female side. I like seeing Carly Wopat there. And then Calypso just like,
she's a real deal.
I think it just cements the fact that she's in this thing.
She's here, right?
She's here.
Like, it seems like that last year she did the Spartan age group series, murdered everybody, right? And so it's like, okay, is she going to step up, and maybe this is more her jam than something like OCR, because she seems to have a capacity for it.
Because we've seen this before a lot, of someone with credentials at something come in and say, I'm just going to do the age group series this year and get my feet wet. And in the past, that didn't happen. You just jumped into elite because why not?
Right.
It was earlier in the day. Anyone could get in. There might be money. It's a small field. But as soon as they started gating it, you had people do that. And like Steph Garcia, right? She did that. And then we've never seen her again.
Right.
Part of it
Right.
was
She had a baby.
She had a baby and all that. But
She also
even-
wasn't dominant, right? Like she was, like,
she wasn't
taking her
dominant.
lumps.
And she worked through the minors, but we haven't seen people work their way through the minors very often and then jump their way up.
Mhm.
Jack, you would probably know better than the two of us put together how many times we've had people successfully go from age group to a force coming up through the ranks.
Force
And
is
it's-
She's
yeah.
doing it.
Annie Doobie is one.
I
who
was
did
gonna
that.
say
Annie.
Mhm.
Annie Ashley O'Hara. She raced an age group for a little bit, and she's had she was fourth or I thought she was fourth in Jacksonville one year.
Yeah, I mean, she's always top 10. She's top 10
yeah.
in the elite.
Yeah,
so
she's
I would consider that a force. Yeah.
but yeah, there are
On the
not too
dudes,
many.
yeah. I think dudes are just too
I know Dustin Rudder
Too
kind of
proud-
goes
too
back
prideful.
and forth, and
We
he'll
have the
get-
guys that flip flop, you
Yeah.
like a lot of the Masters guys, John, Cole, those guys who can
Yeah.
they have battles to be had in age group, but they can compete
Yeah.
with at any race.
but they
they're
didn't
at.
stick in age group only and then level up at some point.
They didn't
That's where you're
use it
getting.
as a
Yeah.
stepping stone. You don't see it
Exactly.
very often.
Yeah, more on the
I
women's
love
side.
that Calypso is a success story there.
Yeah, she's young. She's testing it out. She's not from a running endurance background, so but she's coming out and she's really showing out. But in this field, like Lauren dominated, right? There were 3 events. We talked about this before. The first one was called yard work, which is essentially like a Murph derivative with pressing, and then there was a fitness lifting capacity test, which is a minute of bench press, 135, 185. We've talked about this. I'm just going over it again. And then a minute of deadlifts at 225, 315. And the final one was the last athlete standing, basically an all-out mile, a mile race was essentially what that turned out to be, where they eliminated athletes after 200 meters of a course or something. Lauren came away with 7 points. So I think she won 2, and
She
then
did 151 or something.
151.
I think.
Yeah. And then Calypso had 10, Sam had 11. But it's not that big of a field. So I guess when I'm looking at this, right? And this is a conversation I had with Ryan Kent recently around Deka Strong. So when Battle Bunker, to me, this iteration of it seemed like a CrossFit competition because the level of running was really low. Especially on the men's side on both the East and the West, that it's like, if a games athlete came into this event, do they just win? Like, what separates this from a CrossFit comp? And I guess, like, what then defines a hybrid fitness competition?
What usually happens, like we've seen Murph at the CrossFit Games. This wasn't Murph, it was a modified version of it, but is the 1 mile run before or after all the movements, is that the limiting factor? Is that what determines how people do? No, it's usually pull-ups or push-ups and squats. And in this case, overhead sandbag press with 100 pounds. That kind of was not really favoring runners.
No.
Event 2, your chest is destroyed from the first event. A lot of people, some people who I think it was not Mike Brett. There's some guy who I heard him on Matt's interview, and he was like, I was going for 30 reps. That's what I got in practice for bench press, and he got 9.
What?
Because he was destroyed. And then the final event, that kind of went in the direction that you'd expect with runners, but
like
running,
even still, like, it's not like the runners on the men's side. It was like no one's scary.
was there a runner? Yeah.
Well, I think that highlights it. Like, how important is the running to hybrid, or what's true hybrid? It's only as important as the level of runners that show up.
Right.
Like, if you took High Rocks and introduced it at CrossFit, I believe Matt Frazier wins when everyone's in their prime and does it, because it's not a running competition, and he's the best at putting out across the board and started winning running competitions.
And he's not bad at running comparatively to CrossFitters.
No, but you put the OCR sport in it, and you've got to be able to run 540 pace or under
29. Yep.
in order to get through there.
Yeah.
And so you put them into that, like, even that devil take the hindmost race at the end. It was a compelling race because no one was a good runner. Not a good runner. No one was a great runner. And so they all just like were thrashing away against it. It was cool to watch, but like, you didn't need to be a good runner to do well. But
We're
if all the
talking-
runners show up, it matters.
We're talking West Coast, like Meg destroyed everybody on the East Coast version of it. So, and
Yeah.
she's a very good runner.
So I think
Yeah.
you put them all in like the first couple of years in Killington, people are like, this is a norm course or whatever, because running doesn't matter. And then later on, it's the same mountain. And instead of hiking 75% of it, people are running 75% of it because the great mountain runners showed up. So it's like, how much does it matter only compared to the field? You can take a hybrid competition and give it to CrossFitters and it's a CrossFit competition. And you give it to runners and it's a running competition with whoever doesn't die the most on the lifting. So it's really interesting. The athletes that show up frame how the competition is even played.
Yeah, and I guess that's like they're in the sport side of this, what we're calling hybrid racing, hybrid fitness racing, I think tells the best story. Like, the running matters a lot, right? Like, that's really what separates it from CrossFit. If it's not, then how is it different? You know, like,
It's just a derivative then.
It's just a derivative, right? And like CrossFit, yes, it is hybrid fitness because there's strength and endurance and skill and all these different pieces that blends it together to fit the word hybrid. So like, and now it's like, oh, and like I listened to a little bit of Matt's interview that he had there, and there's people like, yeah, this is the way to find the best hybrid athletes. It's like, okay, there's nobody fast here. Like, this is the best. This is a CrossFit competition, like hands down.
And it did find it.
For
Isaiah
that,
and Cole were the best hybrid athletes there.
for sure, absolutely. But there was no, the running didn't matter. The way that running doesn't matter at the CrossFit Games or at CrossFit Regionals. So, do we need a different definition? Like, how much running is needed, or what kind of running prowess should these athletes have to fit the sport side, or is this just minutia that doesn't matter? Because like, but we're all using it as the same like title of like fittest, hybrid, people that can do all of these things, and that like they're different.
It's the problem with trying to crown someone the championship of a word rather than or like a verb. Right. You can't be the champion of a verb, but like you can be the champion of the 10,000 meters. You can't be the champion of running because there's so many different definitions of it, or the champion of hybrid fitness. There's no definition of it. So I think the best you can do is create a competition. I don't care how it looks, that you can't do it without one or the other. Like if you are the best at one and the worst at the other, you're going to suck.
Yeah.
Because you can't just balance out your stations. It has to be that you have to be serviceable at both to have a chance. And you have to be very good at both to win. You can't win off one huge strength. I think that hybrid component means that you can't win off of one skill. And I don't think that's a definition, but like Hyrox got it right.
Well, that's CrossFit though.
DEKA got it right.
CrossFit is also that. Like, if you're super strong and you could work for up to 5 to 7 minutes, if you're BK, but super yoked, and then they stretch it out to 20-minute AMRAP, like, you're done. You put it on a run in there, like, you can't survive off of just strength alone.
And so I'm saying with hybrid, the biggest component has to be cardio of some sort or running along with functional strength. Like, that has to be, you can't be great at either one and not good at the other.
I think it just comes down to two words in the order in which you put it. You have strength endurance or endurance strength. And I think that endurance strength is kind of how we typically look at DEKAFIT, Hyrox, DEKAMILE specifically.
Endurance strength racing?
I don't know if that's, the right term, but like, if we're just trying to simplify it right there, it leans more on the endurance side, but you have to have strength to do well. Versus the other one, ratio. Yeah,
I like your definition.
I'm just trying to simplify the definition, though.
I do like your definition, but I think it has to be a ratio thing where you can't have a skill that outweighs all the others.
Yeah,
like it's time spent doing it. Like DEKA Strong is, it's hybrid racing only because it's at a hybrid event.
And it's multiple domains. It's the same way that CrossFit would be hybrid.
Yeah. Right, but that could be thrown into higher. And if DEKA never existed and they just took DEKA Strong and put it at the games, you'd be like, this is kind of a sweet CrossFit event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you put Hyrox at the CrossFit Games, you'd be like, this is not CrossFit right here.
Right.
Like, you can tell there's a difference where strong exists in our world only because it's it was added on to our world using the movements and terminology that we already knew. But I wouldn't consider it hybrid racing at its core. It's just along for the ride. Deca mile is probably like as low as you can go on the cardio output, especially running, and still consider the ratio good enough that the runs matter enough that you can't just station your way in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that functional fitness or hybrid fitness might be another delineator? Or
I think the word hybrid's bad.
Yeah,
it's too broad.
I agree.
Can you imagine if you had just started a podcast titling it that?
Ooh, tough.
And then you realized it sucked.
Let's rip down hybrid.
So what's the term?
Which podcast is that, Bracken?
We're canceling hybrid racing right now.
The mile hybrid.
Oh yeah, you guys should listen to it. Is that with Ryan Kent or something?
Hey, we're out here.
What's
doing
the term?
That's I don't like
strength racing.
I don't know. Like that's
Fitness
what I'm trying
racing?
to get. Like how much, how clear is it that you have to be able to be good at running? Like I think the running part needs to be like that is what essentially that's what OCR is when
strength
it started.
Run.
That says the two things.
Yeah,
Pump
sure.
and run already exists. Can't use that.
No.
Pump and run.
Copyright.
I don't know.
I love the word hybrid, but the problem with it is it's the most all-encompassing term.
So it's so broad. Like that could be literally anything. Like basketball is a hybrid sport that is like agility and finesse and skill and touch and endurance. Like, yeah, you need all those elements. It's like, I just think it's really broad.
Now, I like hybrid fitness racing because if you have the word racing in there, everyone knows what that means.
Mm-hmm.
You don't race a CrossFit event.
You kind of do.
But no one says I went to a race this weekend.
Yeah, it's a competition.
I didn't race Murph. You compete it.
Right.
And that's the difference. As soon as you have the word race in there, the connotation is start line, finish line, and you're locomoting from one to the other. Even if it's biking or swimming, it's a race because you spend time moving from one place to the other doing that thing.
So race is like X, Y, get from X to Y, as opposed to time-based. That's kind of how you define it. Like you're traversing as opposed to trying to get a task done faster, because it kind of overlaps there.
I do. And I almost even think that like manual treadmills almost negate the race component. It turns it into a competition. I think moving from a start line to a finish line is mandatory in a race.
Should we go old school, like the 880 meter dash, hybrid fitness dash?
I think for short events, call it a dash.
Call it but
you have to be able to
Deca dash. There you go.
Rich. Yancey's fucking taking notes right now.
But I don't think you could confuse it for a competition for a race. No one ever confuses it that direction, but we can confuse ours in the opposite. It's a race or is it a competition? Like I'll tell people I have a competition coming up because it is, but it's also a race. But no one ever says I have a race coming up when it's purely a competition. Like the Festivus games. No one ever said I got a big race this weekend.
True.
Because we know inherently what that means.
And it's one event.
Yeah.
Right. It's like one thing that happens that starts and finishes, where a competition is multiple.
Yeah.
But how would you define like the trifecta world championship? Is that the trifecta competition because it's multiple events, or is DEKA Fit World or is DEKA World Championship with Fit Mile and Strong? Does that collectively fall under both?
It's a competition weekend made up of 3 races, like stage racing.
Yeah.
Multiple components doesn't negate the fact that it is a start to finish competition.
Yeah.
And you're propelling yourself there in some means.
Yeah.
It's even that alone is part of the reason I don't like wall balls leading right to the stage. It changes the feeling from race to competition at the very end. I just complete my final reps and it's over. Have we ever had someone passed from wall ball to stage? We had people not quite, like Ryan Kent
almost
was the closest, but it's not a foot race to the finish.
No,
you're just trying to stop the clock after your final rep.
Yeah.
It's not really different than ram burpees for
right.
That's also a bad finish. Also
at the end.
So I mean, I know that's a bit tangential, but a race, everyone knows what a race feels like and is, but no one can define. If you sat 100 people in the room and said, draw a picture of what hybrid fitness racing looks like. If they didn't know about Hyrox or Deka, you would have 100 different drawings.
Okay. I like the racing needing to be part of the competition, like part, right? Like, whereas, and that's what I mean, like this battle bunker event, this is just a CrossFit competition to me. Because of that, like it's not a single
fitness competition, yeah,
or a fitness competition. Well, if most fitness competitions, if you put a good CrossFitter in there, they're going to win.
Yeah,
right. Unless you are considering Trifecta Weekend a fitness competition, a fitness competition only of running.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like and now it's like the athletes at the top are the athletes that we know, and we know are really good athletes. Like Lauren Weeks is one of the best athletes in the world, like full stop. Anything else, Meg Jacoby, I think the same thing. Like put her in anything, give them time to learn how to do it. They're going to be the best. But this is like a CrossFit competition with a pool of fitness racers.
right.
So it's like,
who are qualifying for an event that's going to have an obstacle race at it.
Like potentially, right? Like, so it's like to me, this is like, taking NFL players and watching them play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're still going to have some do well, but it's not. I do feel like we got. Did we miss anybody who was in the field who actually showed up this weekend? Who you're like, wow, they do so much better in the finals if they qualified.
No, we don't know what the finals are either. You mean like people who didn't qualify? I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I've talked about this with Spartan in the past with how they choose their world championship and everything, but I always like to ask the question, what is the competition testing? Like, what are we testing for? The winner is the best blank. And you can always say that like the Ironman is the winner is the best at long course triathlon. Like that's generally pretty safe. And in the Olympic marathon is usually the winner is the best marathoner right here. Very often do you see someone you're like, they suck at the marathon, but the course suited them so well that they're good. Like, it's testing that. So Hyrox, they say it's the champion of fitness, which it's not. It's the best at Hyrox.
Yes.
And that's provable. So what is Battle Bunker testing? It's a cool show. It's a cool spectacle, but what are we testing in there? I can't define it. Last year, it was like fatigued and weighted work capacity, running under load, rowing under fatigue, sprinting an 800 under huge duress, and then doing the work with sandbags and walking under load. And I don't know, like it was testing work capacity, functional work capacity. And that was cool.
It was like GoRuck derivative from that perspective.
What it's doing this year so far, I'm not sure what it's testing other than that it's cool.
I think
is that enough?
If you do well at it, you're probably good for most other similar competitions. That's what it's testing.
Does the prelim test the final skill set?
Well, what do you mean? Like if you put these people in a CrossFit competition, they wouldn't do well.
I guess world class. Yeah. I don't know.
I
feel like
local.
You're fine. Yeah, you're finding
Seriously.
Balanced athletes, but I agree. Yeah,
Isaiah would do well.
Point that out.
Isaiah would do well. I mean, he did well at
Megan
national level CrossFit competition. Lauren would do well at national level competition. Meg would need a little bit of work, but I think she could eventually do well. But everybody else, I don't think would do.
But so like getting there and doing a Savage rig or getting there and doing the O course, it's like, well, as much as I love Hunter and I love the spectacle of it, choosing CrossFit style elements to determine who gets to go run the Battle Bunker O course is, like you said, choosing we're gonna have a football competition and at the end we're settling this with 5-on-5 hoops.
Knockout.
It's funny to watch, but if I'm gonna watch an obstacle course race, I want to watch great obstaclers do it. If I'm gonna watch CrossFit, I don't want us to decide who gets to the CrossFit games by running 10K time trials. Like I want the test that we're gonna like your quizzes, your pop quizzes should lead to the final exam. And we don't know what the final exam looks like, which could be part of the problem, but it's always interesting. Like, what are we trying to test for?
And of course, this is year one, right? Like, I don't want to be overly negative here, like, because we can go to the final and be like, that was sick. That's something I want to prepare for next year. And then 2, 3, 5 years down the line, it ends up being like a CrossFit style thing where now we know exactly what the demands are and how to qualify through to the CrossFit games, where in the beginning in Aromas at the ranch, you just kind of show up and then it's like, what is this? And now there's like methodology around it, and maybe things will be sussed out from there. But it just seems like it's a very crowded field, and this isn't differentiating enough.
Well,
is it kind of
go ahead, Jack.
Is it kind of like how OCR, you have the whole season in the past, you'd have the whole season and then you'd end up having to do a longer than beast distance
on
championship
sand
race, or a sand race or a 16-mile altitude Tahoe race that's way different than the rest of the year. It's like, are you really testing the final?
But even worse, because at least it was obstacle course to obstacle course. So, I mean, part of the problem is maybe our bias here is that we saw the final last year with no lead into it, no pipeline, and now we see the pipeline and it doesn't seem to be leading to the final. So we're comparing last year's culminating event to this year's prelude, but they've never said that the prelude is leading to last year's final.
Right.
So I'm obviously making assumptions about what they're trying to test. Maybe they're showing us exactly what they're testing. They're going to get out there and put them through more of this stuff that will include the O course, but it's not the crux of it.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
But we're also basing off the YouTube channel. Like his YouTube channel was based around putting people through these O courses.
Right. It's like if they're going to have it at this space that they have with this obstacle course, that's what was it, 4 minute? It looked hard. It looked like a very hard cross, like real nasty. Like, is that something that they wouldn't put in? Yeah. Like, are we gearing up to see something more like that, which I did watch and I enjoyed, or is it going to be a CrossFit competition for people who aren't necessarily CrossFitters?
Yeah. And that's the question. What are we testing?
Finals location is San Diego again, right?
Is that Lejeune or whatever?
So yeah, it's gonna have the O course because that's where it was last. Like, I can't imagine any circumstance they wouldn't incorporate that.
They haven't tested it at all. But
they
I guess
they have, and they stopped, right? Oh, you mean the actual skill set? Gotcha. I thought you meant testing the course.
They did this at that Alpha Warrior location. Like, you had obstacles on site, could have done something, but then it wouldn't have been fair to the East regional people who didn't have a similar thing. But
and like, I guess they have obstacle courses at CrossFit, but like, that's is this unknown and unknowable? Like, kind of, it's sort of like they're having a grit day.
Yeah,
I don't know. And that's when the grit day got announced, I'm like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good on that. But we'll see. So, I mean, it's familiar names. It's something to talk about. It's awesome that it's something that started within the community and is being built up, and people are traveling to this regional event with no chance of winning prize money, spending money to go, right?
There's some, I know that Calypso's from Australia, but there was another female athlete who traveled from Sydney and competed as well.
That's wild.
Monique, I think might have been her name, but yeah, that is pretty crazy.
And travel over here and didn't qualify through. That's tough.
I don't know. She might have been here on vacation or used it as a reason to vacation to the US.
Maybe she heard about the Riverwalk in San Antonio. She's like, I gotta go see. I gotta see that. Yeah.
Here's what's wild to me. We had Isaiah come into the sport at what, 19? He was kind of like a slightly older VJ. He came in, no one knew anything about him. He was doing kind of wild stuff. And within a few years, he was competing for podiums at Spartan Race World Championships. And he took years now to change his body and go after CrossFit and become fairly good at CrossFit.
Yeah, good.
He's not a games athlete, but he's legitimately good at it. Like, if you send him into any local box, he's the best they've ever seen in person.
Yes.
And yet, if you gave him a year, I believe he would be one of the favorites for podium for the Spartan 3K course. You just undid his mass. You gave him 1 year to get ready. Like, his range is kind of outrageous.
Yeah.
How he can put out in either format and his engine translates. Not everyone's engine translates well. I'm a person that my engine doesn't always translate well. He seems to be able to channel his towards any style he does. He's gone as far as what, like 3.5 hours at Spartan World Championships. And then the next day came back and won the Ultra Beast in Killington, which is like a 7 or 8 hour day. And he was then third a year later at the short course in Killington, which was like a mile. And now he's doing CrossFit. Like, his engine is one of the most adaptable, durable engines I've ever seen in my life.
All right. Yeah. Here we go. Jack, you got something? Because I have a great idea. So
for it, Rich.
you go something, because when I say
I-
whatever I say is just going to be like,
Okay. My only take on Bracken saying that he'd be one of the favorites to podium, I think that when you see him have success in shorter races, for instance, like the stadium series and stuff, he is able, just based on constraints of the venue, you are able to strategically box people out, for instance, and not what we think of with Isaiah, but like literally you're able to slow the race down a little bit to your strengths. If you get out ahead in the stadium, I don't think you would be able to do that on the trail. I think he'd still be very good. I wouldn't put him as a podium favorite.
in the 3K?
Yeah.
I would.
I mean, his
maybe
running has taken a considerable hit.
I know he can. Bracken said 2025 or something. You know, give him a year or two to get back to running and stuff.
Maybe, I don't know. Like, it's
Even
not
if
that
he
much
had-
running.
even if he had never left and just stayed in it. I think what he did at the end of his OCR career, when he started to like cycle the drain a little bit, and
Yeah.
life and an OCR, where like all his negative traits on course started to clump closer and closer together until that was just his calling card, where we just thought of him as someone who's going to go out and cut the course and cut corners and cheat reps and block people on course. That's not what got him there. Like, he was legitimately
Right.
good enough to win without that.
Yeah.
And then he started doing those things. But like Dallas Stadium, he beat Killian, didn't he? Killian's first stadium race. And if not, Killian beat him in like the last 100 meters. It was like a
Yeah.
37-minute race. You can't block in Dallas Stadium, and you can't do it for 37 minutes with all
Yeah.
the climbing and descending. So I just don't.
He has 5 top 10s in his career world champs for Spartan.
Yeah.
Like, without question, the engine's undeniable. I was just simply refuting your single statement about a favorite to podium.
Yeah, and I, as everyone knows, I have no love for the kid, but I have a huge amount of respect for what he's able to do and has accomplished. He's just like, his get up and go is nonsensical for his body type. And so I think, yeah, if I had to create a list of 5 people that I could just, if you gave them, put them into a lab for like 12 months and show up, he'd be on that short list of who I think would be the best at the 3K. Now, Rich, blow our minds.
Well, Isaiah's currently 18th in our OCR rankings of all time. Last on the list, one Bracken Crocker 16th. So we're just saying. We just had to bring
That's
that up.
even a debatable spot for him. Like, he has accolades that can put him ahead of me.
Potentially, but like, we made the list and we really like
He's
it.
only a few podiums away from 100 in his career for Spartan. Kind of crazy to think how long he's been around.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about Isaiah in this type of range got me thinking just a second. Where is there differentiating space in this field, right? I'm saying this is too crowded. Like, they're trying to like there's CrossFit here, like on our left, and then there's like fitness racing on the right, and it looks like Battle Bunker is trying to fit somewhere in the middle there. And I just think the overlap is just too much. What if Battle Bunker was just ultra hybrid fitness racing?
Ultra
24-hour fitness racing,
Didn't that go
Or-
over at games?
or 8-hour?
It would sell out.
It would be it.
You would have all these guys. You'd have Chris. You'd have everyone associated with Chris.
Dylan,
with
imagine
Grit.
Dylan. He'd be like, "Oh, finally!"
Yep. Evan prepares. He'd be like, I've trained my whole life for this moment.
Yeah.
You have all these people that would consider themselves to have the most dog in them.
That would
Yeah,
be such
exactly.
a disgusting event.
Put him in a weight vest.
Dylan.
Put a ruck on their weight vest. Then, like, have them hold like a piping hot pie
Sorry, I just popped into the mic.
overhead.
I didn't. If I had to make a list of all the millions of words, I thought you were going to say have them put a piping hot pie was not on that list.
That's one thing that
some
they can
reason that
really
got me.
they can show their prowess in that. I don't like. It's something that exists. It's something that doesn't exist, and potentially there are athletes and people that want to have this experience. Give it to them. Make them qualified through the pipeline. Have them go out and do 24-hour hybrid race.
You know what? I'm going to take it a step further.
Let's go.
I'm staying away from pies and weird like weighted holds.
How prepared are you?
I would want to see every single standardized hybrid racing competition done back to back for these 24 hours.
So you do a high
That's
rocks,
great.
you finish, and now you have to do a DEKAFIT. Then
You-
you do a
no.
DEKAMile. Oh.
You have a high rocks, and then you have the Go Ruck high rocks as well somewhere in there. You have Deca Strong,
Murph.
Mile, Fit, maybe Deca Dash if that materializes.
Deca Dash is gonna happen.
you have the race brain hybrid event. Yeah, you have Murph. You have, what else have we done? Like some sort of weird lunge walk or burpee broad jump for a mile or 400 meters. Like all the competitions that have really spawned hybrid racing, everything that have been standard things are all together in a back-to-back competition. And they can either be done at your leisure, like first person to complete them all wins, or they're all done with like a 10-minute break in between everyone, and each one is a standalone race. But either way, I would stream that all day and all night.
Now, I might be misquoting this. Bracken, do you remember this ultra competition that Miguel Medina did a few years ago? Maybe like 5-6 years ago. And I thought it was he and a few people tried to, it was a 24 hours. How much weight can you physically move combined over the course of 24 hours? And they were just doing like low weight, high rep bench press,
5 pounds at a time,
curls, leg press, like just literally what you could. I swear that he did something like that, and it was just, I was like, you're guaranteed getting rhabdo after that. That's just.
I'm not doing thrusters.
No,
no,
you're out on that.
What would you choose? What would your rep be? 24 hours of one movement to move the most weight.
Honestly, I would do something that uses most muscle groups, because if you're just doing like deadlift over and over again, that's such an overuse.
I already have mine.
What uses more muscles than right deadlift, away? Though?
Like, yeah, I don't know.
To me, the answer is obvious, but maybe I'm thinking about it wrong. I wouldn't do like what Alexander Nicholas did.
Oh, kettlebell swings.
Kettlebell swings. I would
do surgery after.
Yeah, he had to have surgery.
It's hip press for me.
Oh, that is for you.
For anyone, hip press.
Like a glute bridge.
You have bracing. Yeah. You don't have to use your grip. You don't have to worry about spinal alignment.
It's got to be lower body. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it low.
You don't have to use your grip. Yeah. I think that might be actually, but it's, I mean, I guess like your hamstrings. Caleb Yates. Get him on that thing, man.
Yeah.
He's winning this competition. The glute hip thrust, that's a funny one, because the grip component, that's certainly a limiter. Could we wear straps if we did deadlifts or something?
Sure,
you can strap on as much as you want, Rich, but always. I'm sticking to hip press.
Not without strapping on.
I can't even fathom like 6 hours of one movement trying to do this, never mind 4 times longer than that. Like,
well, if you did squats, then like you could, I'm just thinking deadlift, because then there's a variety of ways to do it. You can, and if the weight's not super heavy, you go conventional. You can do sumo. You can just do RDL. You could like stagger
trap bar deadlift
it.
Would be safe.
Yeah, trap bar
deadlift, just one plane of movement, up, down, up, real compact. But it's there's too much bracing, too much grip.
Just do 135 on there.
135.
That's gonna get heavy after a while. I'd be doing like the bar
for you too.
Rich can
24 hours
trap bar. He's a trap bar guy.
If you don't do it with weight, then the range of motion increases. You gotta have something on there.
Yeah, I'm putting like
bumpers, 10-pound bumper.
10 bumpers.
Oh yeah, definitely bumpers. Nah, I'll be way ahead of you guys. Yeah, I'm gonna be sprinting out.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with this event that would be so long, there would be specialists, and we look at it and be like, what they're doing is incredible. I can't do it. Where if you're watching this battle bunker, it's like anybody who goes to CrossFit gym would be like, what is like, I can do this.
It gives everyone the opportunity to be like, they suck.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I don't want to ever say that watching a sports. You usually have one player on the team, like, they suck. What are they out here? You don't say it about the whole squad unless it's like the Browns for the last 2 decades.
Right. Where like World's Toughest is a perfect example, right? Like someone like DJ Fox, where I personally would beat him in literally every running distance
except that,
and I know it, and I don't even, and I'm just like in awe of what he's capable of doing in something like that I wouldn't even try. You know,
we all probably know 5+ people at our local gym who could win event number 2 based on what we saw right there, just bro lifters and stuff.
And anybody, and almost anybody from OCR could win that final one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The first one was really the only one.
It's who are you facing? It's like, are you doing a local meet, or are you doing your region champion, or a bigger meet? If you're in track, for instance, like, are you beating actual runners in event 3? Not really. You're kind of beating the best runner of your selected group right there.
And Jake Gibbs, who won, he's a good athlete. I don't want to take
Yeah.
anything away from Jake, but like there was no real like runner. Like if Anas was there, he'd have just been murdering.
Yeah. He would have
I
done
really
what
am
Mike did.
intrigued by this. I would love to get the ball rolling on the hybrid racing, like ultra games. You could hold it someplace sweet, like not that this would be it, but like the Dome in Alaska, someplace big with turf where you could, it's real modular, a lot of space to run. Not that that's where you would do it, but it could. Like, why not put it in Alaska?
And I think that we would, like, I was just thinking, will this take away, because there's strong guys who showed up at this event, right? And at the East Coast Regional, the very strong athletes. Those athletes are not going to do well in what we know now as the fitness racing part. Like like they have done hybrid, they have done high rocks, they get work. If they came to DEKA, it would just not, it wouldn't even be competitive from like the first 500. Like seriously, because the running is weighted so much heavier. But these are the type of athletes that are looking at 24 hours. They might be like, like running, it's important and I can do it, but it's not like the speed of the running that matters. I don't think you'd lose that many of these strong guys for that.
Do you want to know who I think would be the favorite in 24-hour DEKA, for instance, or 24-hour DEKAFIT, where you actually have 5K of running every single loop and you're doing everything? Kevin Gregory. He's done 24 hours. He's a monster on the machines. Like, I could see a guy like him just dominating.
Dylan's winning everything, dude. I don't even know. I appreciate you thinking outside the box there, giving our guy Bubs a shout.
Have we seen Dylan do 24 hours though?
Like, just
seen him almost die in a tent.
He almost does it daily, but yeah,
he has. That doesn't mean he hasn't done it because I haven't seen it. He's done more than he's done it closer than most people have.
He will definitely be the least fatigued on just output nonstop.
His level of fatigue, versus fresh, is just like this big, so he's just always in that space of like kind of fatigue. So we'll never.
I'll put him on the podium. I just have Kevin as the
field
favorite.
Field goal kicking on All Pro in Madden, where it's
like
there's only one little sliver. It's like you're way over, way under.
Good luck.
Sweet spot.
Dylan lives there.
Yep.
So that's what Battle Bunker should be.
And you could walk, in theory, a massively powerful man or woman with great strength endurance could jog the whole competition.
Chris is destroying everybody in that.
And still be competitive, because over 24 hours, like, people are going to burn out or get injured or just have like cramps or
just not want to go.
You're not going to want to do Go Ruck High Rocks as the last event when High Rocks kicked it off like 23 and a half hours earlier.
And, I like, if we do it that way, Bracken, the way you're saying, like Jack mentioned rhabdo. Rhabdo's usually with excessive muscle damage, and that has to do with just the range of motion and usually eccentric loading. Things like High Rocks and DEKA, it's mostly concentric. There's not a ton of like lowering and ripping, So I think we're safe from rhabdo.
So what would the list be?
I think you have to have one brand do it. I don't think that you'd see a brand actually put on an event. We're trying to be realistic with this. I could see Yancey, who loves ultra events, actually doing a DEKA ultra at some point.
Well, then we could just do
a DEKA day. There we go. We'll call it that.
It starts
that alliteration.
The DEKA dash has to be in the middle somewhere.
And Mark Jones
DEKA
works
dog
for
is
them.
in there.
DEKA Dog 5000's happening.
Yeah. Mark Jones works for DEKA.
Who?
Not Mike.
Jones.
Yep. He's all into ultra endurance.
And see, I think it would have to be a third-party organization that gets permission from High Rocks, DEKA, and everyone to use their event branding.
Couldn't they just change just not call it that? It's like, oh, this sled is like you put it on
High Rocks.
You put it on a Prowler instead. No, they use a dog sled.
Yeah,
in High Rocks. This is
original
the
pull
IP.
First, the push is second.
Yeah, clearly different.
You go to 3 meters instead of 10 feet for the wall.
We're
balls.
using
different
turf,
distance,
guys. Turf. No carpets.
No carpet. Could host it here. I'll have it out here in Arvada.
Yeah,
we can do it.
This is the best idea you've ever had.
I told you. I knew it was gonna blow your brains.
I think like the
ultra hybrid,
the home
racing
games were a pretty good idea by Rich.
Thank you. I've been preparing for that as well.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna.
How's your lawn looking?
It's been heavy on weed heavy, but that's okay. That's okay right now. It's part of a process.
You just need to get something there, and then you can get rid of the weeds later.
Root pathways is a word I say. A phrase I should say. So yeah, but that's the thing. Like if they're like that would be cool. I love this pipeline idea. I love how it's like taking the athletes from one and building, and like we can talk about it, we can see it, we can get to know some of these athletes. Like I don't really know. I'm not very familiar with who got third, Samantha Faddis. I don't really know much about her.
She's been like 38 and change in DEKAFIT this year. I think she's
Right.
floating around 20th,
which would be outside of the top 20, right? Or right in there.
She's a good athlete for sure, but not a world beater on the DEKAFIT side.
But
on
the racing side.
Yeah, exactly. Racing side.
We're going all in on the racing term. Okay, we're figuring things out today. We're figuring things out today.
Ultra.
Would you do it, Bracken? Would you do an 8 hour?
It's such a spectacle that I would do it.
8 hour?
Or I'd commentate or whatever, because there'd be year one would be such a free for all that it'd be as much of an experience as anything else. So Chris will go out and win. Good job, Chris. We don't care. We're not impressed. We're out there for the experience. I'd be impressed.
Yeah.
Could Chris outright win the men's? Is the question.
Yes. I guess it would depend on what the movements would be. What we would decide.
Going, no matter what.
Do we have enough competitions to add up to, let's say, 20 hours of work or 18 hours of work? How many hours of work would we need throughout here?
All right.
How much rest?
Just do a lap.
Are we listing this out?
Yeah. Do it.
So we do a high rocks. Say high rocks pace for 24 hours. What's it take you? 2 hours?
I was going to say double everything. You're slowing down.
Okay. Yeah.
What's after high rocks?
Dylan's going out. He's going to click 69.70 on the head.
His PR is 58.30 and his range of speed is slim. So, he's probably running, 62.
Single digit percent.
62 over and over again.
Then we can talk about hybrid mod. He's got days.
Ultra mod.
Hybrid ultra mod. So, okay. Do we just want to do the 2 back-to-back, then put a DEKAFIT in there?
Sure.
Call that 1 hour. We're at 3 hours.
So you do it 8 times, potentially.
Just over and over.
Every DEKA needs to be in there.
Every deck.
Yeah. You cut down. You do your 5K running, and then now you're only doing a mile run, and now you're just doing stations.
I like that.
Welcome to High Rocks. And then that would be horrible.
So you want to put all the DEKAs back to back?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I would put everything apart with something else in it.
That's what I was thinking. Do you want to put Murph third?
Okay. Murph.
Oh my goodness.
That's disgusting.
I would start people with Murph.
We could do Murph weight. We could do Murph. We could do like Murph unpartitioned. We could do Murph partitioned. We could do Murph with a weight vest. So there's like 3 or 4. There's 4 options for Murph: 2 weight vest, partition, unpartitioned, 2 no weight vest.
You're doing double Murph, basically.
Weight vest, partition. Weight vest unpartitioned, and then body weight partitioned.
Okay.
I'm just doing the simple, just High Rocks and DEKA. This is getting too outside of our style of racing.
This is a whole new thing.
So we have High Rock. We have 2 versions of High Rocks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you want to make it a doubles? Would people have to team up for one of these?
Do a relay.
One person does High Rocks. One person does DEKA.
I think you maybe to do that, to ensure that everyone's on equal playing field, you start with High Rocks doubles.
Well, we could take High Rock. Well, yeah, a partner, that's going to ruin people.
Yeah.
It's going to ruin half of the team.
What do you mean?
Like one person's going to be in better capacity than the other person. So someone's going to be stretched.
You have to do High Rocks every time versus doing DEKAFIT every time. I know which I'm choosing.
We could change the High Rocks.
No. I'm saying you do a High Rocks doubles to kick it off.
Right, with a teammate.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whatever Jack was thinking is not what I was intending.
Yeah, I thought you were trading off and like someone gets the real short end of the stick.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I think potentially there could be a partner for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So no. So the High Rocks options are High Rocks and a High Rocks Go Rock.
And then we could just do like High Rocks Strong trademark. And then we could do High Rocks with like a mile in between each station.
I would like to have 2 to 3 versions of every event.
Okay.
So we have the 3 DEKAs. We have 2 High Rockses, and we come up with a third, our own proprietary version of it, like dribbling a basketball.
How about this?
Not actually that.
You just literally
High Rock Strong.
We have DEKA Strong. Just do High Rock Strong.
I said that.
Oh, that's a good idea. Let's go High Rock Strong.
I said that.
High Rocks,
Pull
Go
up the
Ruck,
tapes.
and High Rocks. Then we have Deka Strong Mile.
High Rocks. There you go. There's your combined event.
No, we can't use a rucksack though. We got to use our own.
Oh,
So we have 6 events right there. What are we saying on time so far now?
Wait. We have
Long.
6.
Yeah, we have
all-
3 Dekas and 3
3
High
Deka.
Rocks.
So the Deka Strong and the Deka Mile are going to be only like 30 minutes and like 40 minutes. I guess depends on where we put them.
I think even fatigued, you're still going to be doing Decker Strong in like 20 minutes. I don't think you're
know.
going to have the 2-to-1 ratio. The running is what's going to get people.
Transitions will get slow.
That is true.
High Rock Strong, that might take an hour, depending on where it's at.
Yeah.
That'll take an hour.
Call it 60.
You're looking at like 6+ hours at this point.
Murph with a vest unpartitioned should probably take 90 minutes to 2 hours.
I don't like that in there.
That's too hard. That's too real.
I think
Okay. I'm okay taking it out if we can come up with something else and fill the time.
High Rocks regular, High Rocks strong, High Rocks 5K. Just cut the running to 500-meter loops.
I say we double the running.
All right.
2K loops. Mile. I think we should do
High Rocks
High Rocks Mile.
So the 10 mile or 8 miler, I guess. Yeah.
I think High Rocks, sprint, mile, and regular.
Yeah.
Or a strong, mile, and regular.
We'll just take the same exact branding. Yep. No. Proprietary.
That's right.
And that would take forever. That would take the 8 miles. That would take forever. That might take 3 hours. Now we're chewing up time. Right,
what else has this industry done?
This needs work.
I've never seen a hybrid ultra event. Like genuinely, this could be the first one. But
Does Grit do an ultra down in Texas?
They have the Grit game. I mean, it duration wise, because you're there all day, but I don't think that it's
we could have
not
this
nonstop.
Let me hit up Jared. We'll have this up at Noob Sanity.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
He just
gotta
had
have
an
a
ultra
beep
event.
test in there.
Beep test.
But it starts at like
you fail the first beep. And then you're just like done.
It starts at like half speed, or you play it on like 1/2 speed.
I just fail.
Quarter speed, then a half, then 3/4.
So we need to have like some sort of long carry. I guess it's basically what the Go Ruck stuff is.
It's like 24 hours of walls.
Walls. Now we're getting to those.
Yeah, something shuttle like from Battle Bunker, that Wake Shuttle or something like that.
Oh, from Go Ruck? Yeah, they had
Go
something
Ruck.
like
Yeah, we can take some Go Ruck implements into there.
Out there shooting guns.
Let's let the people decide. Chime in. What do you?
Let's take it from from the best ranger competition. We'll have them out there orienteering.
I think
figure it
everything. The only qualification, everything has to be known. We're not doing unknowns. Not who run until we tell you to turn around.
Known and knowable. That's our thing.
Yeah, you're gonna know the whole competition in advance. You can train for it if you want to.
And I think that would be, if it was all in succession, if we could come up with something like this. Maybe it's not 24 hours, right? It doesn't need to be 24
8
hours.
hours. Something, yeah.
8 would be enough. 12 hours would also be enough.
Overnight, though.
You want it overnight?
I want it under the lights.
But these are all indoor.
What are you going to turn the lights off, not pay the utility bill?
Maybe it's in Manchester and we have that starry sky above in the atrium.
We get a spotlight
in the greenhouse.
So yeah, and I think it would be better for, maybe not better for the psyche, probably a bigger challenge if it is changed every single event that you come through, just so you're not just so locked into being like, okay, High Rocks for 12 hours. Like I know exactly what's coming. Where if you start like, okay, here's Murph, here's Deka Strong now, like, and how to navigate that, I think it would be a little bit more engaging and also probably more challenging.
So the question would then become, the only way to logistically make it smooth is that, I guess there's no way to logistically make it smooth, because if you're allowed to do it at your own pace, progress to the next one when you finish, you're going to have every event set up in advance, because Chris might be out on her final High Rocks when people are still on Deka stuff.
We didn't even think of the size of the arena that we'd need.
But if you wait for everyone each time, there has to be a time cutoff to move to the next one so that you can progress through.
That could be cool too.
Yeah,
we'll take the hindmost over 12 hours.
Logistically,
you'd have to complete each one and then have a recombobulation time and then move to the next one. Otherwise, if you progress through, you have to have like 10 or 12 hybrid events set up with equipment for all the people for each one, and that would be a nightmare. So you would have to have a time cap on every event.
You do have some overlap though, like just have all the ski ergs in the same place for each race, have all the rowers. You can do farmers carry on the same. I think you can condense the footprint a little more than we realize. But
you could condense it, but you couldn't have people like on their Deka Strong while people are already onto the Deka Mile and people are already onto High Rock. Like,
true. That's why
you would lose all semblance, but you wouldn't want to make it so stiff on the cutoff that people like what DJ was way out of the top 10 in World's Toughest and then came back and won it. You'd have to, in an ultra, you have to allow for those crazy swings to happen. So they would take some finagling for the actual flow of the event.
Right. Yeah. If we have like a double pick the hindmost, like you could have an athlete who could do a high rocks fast and be there when they shouldn't, when they can only do one. Right.
And it might be that if you don't finish in time, there's a 15-minute window or 20-minute between each event. And by the time we start, you have to come up and do it and not be last through the next event or you're out. Yeah. Like you might just lose your transition time or something, but that would be a challenge.
We're not logistic people. We're just idea people. And that's what we're doing right now. But I think
Jack's a logistic person.
Jack is the definition of that. That is true.
Don't you work with the logistics of traffic?
Sort of, to a degree.
Yeah. More
applied
than
logistics, let's say.
More than Bracken or I.
Who's more logistics based, me or Ryan Kent, who works for UPS?
I think he's a foot soldier.
Soldier, okay.
I think you're orders. I think you're telling him the logistics.
Yeah, efficiency. Yeah.
All right, let's move along. That was a great idea.
Kent actually might be good at that. He won the selection.
That's true. Kent probably would be good at that. Yeah, he's down for that. And like a Mark Audette would be ridiculously awesome at that.
I watched Hunter cramp out of like 8 races in Boundless. I don't know if this is his hybrid event.
No.
I'm
going Chris and Kevin, the 2Ks.
I'm doing Dylan. You're crazy. You're insane.
Dylan's podiuming. I just think we've seen Kevin do a 24-hour race without failing a single thing, and he's a monster on machines. I just think that it's gonna it'd add up. But
Amelia Boone had a take back in the day that at the long ultras and at Spartan World Championships, especially when it's cold or really long, you can't bet on the skinniest person. She was like, it's just body. You don't have enough body fat on you. And that was her take on it. She's like, I'm betting on the bigger boys to do well in Killington this year because it's going to be so cold and you're not going to go right into shock after the water. And I think there's some of that. I think Dylan might be a victim of his own physique in the 24-hour realm.
6 hour
having to put out
6 hour. I'm picking Dylan even over a guy like Gaudette, but 24-hour, too many unknowns.
I mean, tell that to the people who win UTMB, right? They're lean, mean machines. So it's not like it's not a rule, but I like the idea of a Kevin Gregory.
It's not going to get cold overnight either, though. If you're in a controlled environment, you can just set the temperature.
We're indoors.
We're not.
Yeah. We'll see.
We're at Noob Sanity Outdoor.
That's true.
Oh, you're right.
In December.
In December is when we decided.
Where are we going to put this thing on the calendar?
Yeah, we just got to plop this.
We'll figure this out.
Not worried about where it fits.
Same weekend as OCR Worlds.
Summer, honestly, would probably be best.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we follow the industry standard, we're going to plop it on the same weekend as WTM.
Got to do it.
That makes the most sense to me. We're gonna
just
choke out the competition with this
weekend before High Rocks World Championship.
That's it's going to be the best way to get everybody happy. Let's move along to DEKAFIT. 2 DEKAFITs happened. One in Carolina, Concord potentially. Not sure.
Concord, North
One
Carolina.
in Malaga, Spain. So this is the second international DEKAFIT competition that we've had, and we saw some good times come out of there. But let's start on the US.
They had one in Malaysia last year as well.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
All right. Stand correct.
Lapped with international knowledge.
Yeah, he just made that shit up. Can't find it.
No, I'm not. Callum Meehan won it on the men's side. So
what was his time?
It was like 33 something. It wasn't fast because it was like at a really small venue, so I think they had 3 laps or something. But
inside knowledge of venues.
Oh, last thing about Battle Bunker, Hybrid Fitness Media, our guy Marcus Wallace, he's working on some strong content where he's kind of combining the 2 regions and seeing how the athletes shook out from that. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, they got it coming for you.
I had a question.
Wallace. Yeah,
because I did not watch it. What was
I
the
just
run
did
like
pieces.
on the West Coast?
It was
What
not
was
on
the
grass.
course like?
It wasn't grass.
So is it comparable at all?
That's the
Will it
problem.
not
Like
matter?
you can't really combine that last event.
Yeah.
So
How do
they
you
just
score that?
you can't. Like so he
Yeah.
just simply just took up the what their mile time was in the combine.
Okay.
Which also doesn't make a ton of sense because Jess Petro had the fastest one and Meg
Should
beat
not
that
be
ass.
Meg.
Yeah. Yeah. She's probably not beating Lauren either.
Yeah.
So DEKAFIT Carolinas. Our guys start on the men's side. Colin Stiefer taking that W. Joe Cotto inside, not on obstacles. Taking second.
Real deal.
Joe
His
Kilmer,
mod's up there.
third. His mod, like he's got fitness. Is he based out of Carolina? Jack, this is a question for you. You know where
I don't
everybody
know
lives. You don't know.
geographically, but he's been doing the Savage series, and they tend to be on the east side. I know in the past he's done a lot of like Mid Atlantic, that area. So I'm sure he's east of the Mississippi.
I could have told you that. But yeah, he came out. He has some real fitness, not just obstacle proficiency, which gives me a bit more of confidence in him with this Savage series, which he's sitting in second right now, I believe, and it's a bit of a participation award right now on that end, just because all the races haven't shook out. But he's been on podiums, he's been top 5, I think, at every single race, so knows how to do obstacles and is fit.
He's leveled up.
Yeah.
This is the best version of him we've seen in this sport. And the interesting thing about him as an athlete is he wasn't doing DEKAFIT like Rich would, where like every movement is crisp. He's, where you're doing your ramp burpees and you're underneath yourself each time and popping, and his feet were shuffling the whole time on everything he was doing. He wasn't planted underneath himself. Did you guys notice that? He was just like farm strong. He looked like he was doing his rams over and his feet were in a different position every time, it looked like.
Yeah.
He just, it wasn't a practiced movement. It kind of just looked like this guy's got some good strength and fitness to him. And then he would just get through it undeterred and then get back to running. I was impressed because I know if I used form like that, I would be rocked. My rep ranges would be slow and then I wouldn't want to run afterwards. I was really impressed with Joe.
Yep.
Same. I was glad to see that he was going to be out there. I saw he was on the start list, and I kind of was like, he has the ability to compete well.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean in a DEKAFIT, where we saw a young athlete come out, Daniel King, who also has the ability to compete well, but he's a college kid, Jack, you were saying?
Just finished his sophomore year at Elon University.
Wow. And he says he's a sub 15.
14:59 in the spring. So he's basically currently a sub 15 guy, as far as I'm aware.
So he has the ability to compete well and has capacity, but just like he was not able to overcome the lack of experience in the stations.
Yeah.
Did you see what he ran in?
No. Spikes?
No. As
Right.
far from that as you're going to get. I couldn't say for sure, but I'm fairly certain it was Speed Goat 5s.
What?
Yep. Go back and check the footage. It were certainly Hokas, and I'm like 90% sure they were Speed Goats.
Now he has done Jacksonville and I want to say Asheville. He's done 2 OCR races this spring. So I think that, and he even posted about this race. So if his coach doesn't know about him doing this stuff on the side, he definitely does at this point.
Dude, my coach would be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
What are you doing?" He's like,
Yeah.
"No, you're not doing that." I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense."
My coach walked into the gym during indoor track season once as we were warming up for our intramural game. He said, "You are not about to play that game, are you?" And
You almost played
nope.
Playing basketball? Oh
Yeah.
no, that was a big time.
He said, "Good, you better not be." I said, "I'm here to cheer, coach." And he walked
Right.
out of the gym.
played.
I'm like in my singlet, like my uniform's on.
Like,
Yep.
okay,
That was the extent of our conversation on it. But
Yeah.
it would not go well.
I wasn't a 14:59 guy.
Do you know what he ended up running for his 5K?
Was
I
it
can look
18
it up.
high?
18:54.
Yeah.
Yeesh. I mean, like being out of the competition
I know, but
a third
He
of
was
the
cracked.
way,
oh,
right? Like,
yeah.
and just seeing him like even on the skier, he looked like Riker, early Riker on the skier.
Yeah.
So okay, so I was gonna mention Nick Riker is kind of the evolution. He sort of started out like Daniel King, just going out. He did that in West Virginia a few years ago, thinking he could lead the North American Regional Championship. He tried lapping Kent basically at DEKAFIT in Denver. and then he
Dumbass.
slowed
At
down,
altitude.
and he just ran his best race ever of the year, like 30 mid for DEKAFIT, and he just was patient instead of just trying to show everyone how fast he was, and that's what you got to do.
Learn it.
Difference is this kid doesn't have a frame.
I know
He looked to be about 5'8", 5'9", not real broad. Like Nick, you looked at early on, you're like, he can put on whatever he wants to on his frame.
Yeah.
But I will say that I don't care what Walmsley's ever done. I think this kid's opening 200 was the fastest anyone's ever ran in Speed Goat 5s, if I'm accurate on that.
Speed Goat 5s.
Pull it up right now as you're watching. Tell me what you think. But I
I'll
thought Speed Goat 5s.
I'll see what I think.
Okay, so I want to talk about Coda one more second. Who he reminded me on course, and I'm going to blank on his name right now. I can only remember his Instagram handle, but Another Nation Discovered.
Oh, Grady Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Grady
He was
Jackson.
gonna be
I want
my
to say
comparative.
Grayson Kilgore, but I knew it wasn't. Grady Jackson. They move similarly on stations. Where you look at them both and think, you're not a powerhouse. You're not going to do this. And then they use their own little funky form and they put out power. I was impressed.
I have been behind Grady Jackson many times in races, within 30 seconds of him. And every single time, like, this is the lap, I'm going to close on him. It doesn't happen. He just keeps going. Super underrated. He's not fluent, like in making it look effortltless and stuff.
And
he
what
just
language?
gets it. English.
He's not? I've talked to him. He seems pretty good.
Okay, yeah.
I don't speak that well, though.
But
Might
I
have
mean,
been
in terms of the
fluid.
movements, he's not as like efficient at going through some of the motions, and he just gets it done regardless. And I think that his compromise running, same with Joseph, is just a difference maker. I want to say in Sacramento that Grady was faster than Ryan Kent for his 5K. That's pretty solid. And they were both like 31:30 roughly. So I think that they are like literal equals. If you have your player comps when players are about to be in the NBA or in the NFL, it's like, this prospect reminds me of so and so. I think
Grady has really big range as well. Like he can kind of
does.
He just did Broken Arrow.
He did all 3 races for it.
Oh, today.
Yeah.
I don't know, BK. These
Triple crown.
kind of look like the coloring looks that way. On the speed
you
goats.
see the soul at one point, and that's what I didn't think they were speed goats until I saw the soul at one point.
Oh, I saw something there. Maybe. Okay.
Either way, it's not a Hoka racing shoe.
No. So it's good to see some younger athletes come through. Yeah, and I also like that comparison, Joe Cotto to Grady, and Grady's has done really well in hybrid stuff this year. So Joe's time, what was it? 31,
I think.
31. That's going to put him potentially on the bubble.
31:33. That's what he got.
So right now right now he's in, like he would be 7th.
But we're missing 5 to 10 guys who could easily bump him out. 5 is probably from the US, 5 more international.
If there's some international athletes that show up. Apparently this Madrid race is going to try to be something where some of those Euros can show out. And I do want to have a conversation about that, who we think would be the best on that end. But let's talk about Colin. I just kind of skipped over him. He had a big improvement between his first and second, almost by a minute. So
31:55 heading in, right?
To a 30:46. So Colin's figuring it out. Is
faster than us.
It could be his running that's improving, which I'm sure it is, but it could also be his compromised running that's improving.
He went 18:52, which means that he went like sub 12 for his stations. He was putting in work. And if you saw on the splits that were popping up on the OCR reports feed, he, including transitions, was doing the ski erg in 150. Everyone else was 205. Same thing with the rower.
Right. So he's probably like low 140s.
103 on the air bike, including transitions. He just knows he has that power, and just didn't affect him. And he was just looking steady. I never got the sense that he was struggling on the runs. He was just kind of getting it done. Just looked comfortable at about 6:05 pace, just cruising.
You had a bunch of people out there racing, and he was out there executing a plan.
Yeah.
And you could see that in his movements, that he knew what his goal was and how he was going to do it. And he just stuck to it. And he got to the bike. When you see someone get to work on the bike, like, that's all you need to know about their DEKAFIT for that day.
Yeah.
There's no choices to be made there. You're either getting to work or you're holding on. There's really very little middle ground there. And he got to work on it.
Until the bike, it was basically Colin 5 to 10 seconds faster, loses it all in the next run because Joseph caught up to him. And Colin wasn't super aggressive transitioning. I think Joseph was a little bit better at that aspect, plus his better running. So I think that's why he got it closed. But like almost every single time, he'd leave 10 seconds early. And then Joseph would basically tap him on the shoulder and get on the bike at the same time as him. And then Farmers Carry, they're right there. I think the ball over the wall, that one ended up being faster for Joseph by like 5 or so seconds. And then they were right there on the sled.
Actually,
yeah, right there on the sled, but then 45 seconds different because of the burpees on the sled at the end of the race. Like,
yeah, and that's when you mentioned the way Kodo was going at the burpees, like Collins, that's like,
yeah,
he's made for that station.
You're not touching a guy like that. Yeah,
hybrid fitness racing.
Yep, makes a difference.
Joe Kilmer finished up in 3rd place, and I like this dude. Joe Kilmer is a very aggressive racer.
Puts it out there.
He really does. And he's been under 63, 62 and change, I think, in High Rocks.
Really?
And,
where?
Dallas.
Wow.
Yeah, he's legit. And
he ran sub 31 for his splits, or for his 8K split. Like, he can run.
He has more of like a Dylan kind of frame. He's a bit taller, a bit slighter, and you can tell he's coming from a little bit more of a running background, but he's competitive. He's not afraid. And I think it's just a matter of time for him. But in the next, if he sticks it out, which I don't see why he wouldn't, in 2 to 5 years, I think he will be one of these athletes who are going to be at the top because he's young as well.
Yeah, he's a guy that I had pegged at the line to be out of his depth because I didn't match his face to his name. And then when he went out aggressively, and he was showing some signs of fatigue early, it looked like, and he was yo-yoing in that group as well.
He was second for a decent chunk of the race.
Yeah, he was.
And then he'd get run down, and he'd do the running down, and I just thought, this isn't sustainable. But he just was tough. And to be young and tough and with a frame that looks like he can fill it out. Yeah, I agree with you, Rich. He's the future.
He has some of those intangibles. Yeah.
We don't see a lot of guys who you look and be like, I think this is the future of the sport. It's like, who's going to step up when Kent's done, when you're done, when Hunter's done? There are people that can fill the void, but I don't look at a lot of them like, this is it. Well, and I already consider VJ like one of the old heads, even though he's young, but we just
in hybrid. Yeah.
Yeah. Even in hybrid. I know he hasn't done a High Rocks, but he's never done like anything that he doesn't get good at.
Right. Yeah. I can see that.
And then anything else notable? We had 2 underdog athletes out there.
Joshua Gonzalez,
who's been on a podium before and ended up 4th. LT was out there. LT gave you the business at your first.
Lawrence Taylor
at West Palm or Palm Beach, right?
No, I beat him.
What?
Yeah.
All right. I thought he beat you.
No.
All right.
And I was 1 place ahead of him in the sprint the next day also, because that's how we found out that he's from the town over for me in New Hampshire.
Is it regular dairy?
Dairy, just regular.
Regular dairy.
Yeah. See, you even knew that without even me leading into it.
It's only like 3 or 4 towns up there.
What do you call someone from New Jersey? I mean, from New Hampshire? What are you?
I don't know. New Hampshire, right? I don't.
New Hampshireian?
I'm from New Hampshire. I don't add the, disclaimer or the
just living free
title after
living free or dying. One of those types.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have an answer.
Dig.
Just no, I don't. I've always just said from New Hampshire.
I didn't know he's from Derry. Nice.
Yeah. Well, he's from Maine, and then now he lives in Derry right now. So, and he went to St. Anselm's, which is in Manchester. So
is there a dairy in every coastal town up there in New England?
Probably.
Most likely.
To say he's from Maine and now he's in Derry is funny.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Okay. On the women's side, Tara Jackson took care of business. This race didn't really seem like an ideal time in terms of a season. She's just from Carolina. So it was like there. I think
she just ran High Rocks New York.
Just ran High Rocks World. Just ran High Rocks New York. I'm sure she's looking at, I wish I could just do something else. And she could have done PA, but it's probably like, hey, I'll do this. They pay out. See how it goes. Take that W. Take care of business.
She posted she's doing Puerto Rico.
Having the fly's huge. What's that?
She posted that she's going to be doing the Puerto Rico race.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that in the summer too?
I think it's in July.
Is that one of those roadshow?
I think it is part of the roadshow.
Yeah.
I believe it's
part of the outdoor roadshow. Or no? Is that going to be on a beach?
I don't have the answer to that.
Could be. Take the High Rocks. DEKAFIT saw High Rocks. I mean, because DEKAFIT clearly respects the ideas that High Rocks has. And they're probably like, let's, a beach race? Let's also do a beach race, but it's not the same.
I've got to say though, doing OCR Worlds and when you have the country contingency and everyone's cheering at the stage, like Puerto Rico, they represent. They've got a huge cheering squad, and I think if enough people are aware of the event, they'll probably travel to do that. So
Cool. That'd be great. Then Lori Winkleman was second, and she's been in.
She did
mix of it
Deca
this year.
Mile or Deca Strong at World Champs last year.
Okay, so she's done DEKAFIT. I think this is her second DEKAFIT
Yeah, definitely a PR.
of the season. Because Michelle Navarro, they were very tight, and she almost had about a minute PR. She took a bunch of time off of her personal.
No, Michelle was in the
best.
37s last year because she
37
ran it.
37 low though.
Yeah, she was like 37, 10 or 11.
This is definitely
yeah.
It was a PR for her for sure. Well, her last race anyway was 38-28, so she
Yeah.
took off a minute and a half or whatever from
That's
that. So a
good.
really strong race for her.
Yeah. Michelle was in like the 1820s for 5K recently when I was looking up stuff to give the host some info. So
She's
she's a good runner.
she's really good potential in this space for sure, for DEKA in particular.
Yep.
'Cause
Yeah, Laurie she waited and then just moved up as the race went on and really made her move on the burpees. That's kind of where she just catapulted positions.
And her time
but
was
yeah,
not as fast as her previous, almost the same.
Yeah. Yeah, she played it right. She waited instead of just trying to go up with Tara.
A fair course.
Yeah.
A fair course.
Most people ran pretty accurately. You'd expect Colin to be a little faster just with how he's been now that he has a little more experience, but most people kind of ran what you'd expect him to do. So
Yep.
I think it was a fair course.
Fair course. Shout out to Bridget Brown out there
Yeah.
doing work. 39-27, 7 months pregnant. Then she comes back, wins the relay with Colin. Light work for her. She's the best relay athlete in the game. She's a dog.
She is, yeah.
It's true. She has 2 world records in there, undefeated. She's a beast.
Besides the guy who carried the team with Tara, Dave Claxton.
Yeah, on the podium.
God, it is.
It's
It's
just
just female Bracken Crocker.
who, Bridget?
Yeah.
I think that's a fair comparison.
Yep.
You know, with the,
Except she's also good individually.
also has a world podium as well. But like
Loves those team races.
in terms of
Yeah,
a
she's
relay.
actually good though.
Dude, BK, you're gonna be that guy in a DEKA relay. 250s at a time, passing off like some people try to do blind, like Makita and Gaudette we're trying to do like blind handoffs. I'm like, dude,
Of course,
you're-
Magita was going
yeah,
blind.
exactly. It's like you do it like a 4x4,
Yeah.
and then you're out. I saw at NCAA's, was it NCAA's? Yeah, it must have been. They were holding the baton high and passing it high, but they were grabbing it low. Have you seen? You know what I mean? Like, so they were holding
I've
it.
never
so-
done that.
So
That might be more aerodynamic because it's against your wrist.
when they were running. Yeah, I've seen people
Yeah.
do that, like have it lower on their run when they reach.
I carry
out,
low when I run.
and then you kind of shuffle up to hand it so that the
So
You got to run up on
right
someone
here,
though if you're holding it here.
You're saying like this.
yes, and they would
They're
grab
running,
the bottom,
and then they pass it like that.
they just hold it
underneath.
straight out. They don't like tip it or anything. Just hold it out, and the person
Huh.
grabs below.
Interesting.
I think if you're worried about aerodynamics in a running race, then
Yeah.
you
You did it
hopefully have
wrong.
maxed out every other thing known to man. Although I was watching most recent Grand Prix race, and there are some women in the 100 with like 8 inches of hair on either side of their head. But that can't be helping.
Not fast.
Lots of jewelry we see these days. They're just out there.
That's like
flossing.
big
Gail
hair.
Devers when she had the fingernails.
I don't care
all
about
like-
nails. That's gonna slice through, but like
But for your takeoff, like with
big
oh,
hair. I mean, I wouldn't do it personally, but I thought that's a parachute.
I'm working my
We're
way
talking
through.
hundreds here, people.
I'm working my way
And
through
they
the
were
end.
like 11:05, 11:06, 11:07. They were
right
like
there.
hundredths off of each other anyway. So that could have made a difference, you're right?
I think I'd say track and field's like my favorite thing to watch. I'm working my way through the entire female race still, female event. So I'm going through the heats and everything. I watched all the men's races, but I'm gonna go back and do that too.
Yeah.
Anything else on the women's end? I mean, this was
I do know one other thing on the relay. Yancey said that there was a college 407 miler who ran all the 500 legs who was in it. I don't know what team he was
Really?
on. At
Current?
at DEKAFIT, current 407 miler. I don't know. He might have been
Quick.
Daniel's
Yeah,
teammate for all I know, who decided to come out there and run it. But Yancey said he went up to him after. He's like, "You've got speed. You're probably like a 410 miler," and he's like, "Yeah, I just ran a 407." So whoever that guy is, I'm gonna find out.
let's
Just
try.
hand timed.
Yeah.
Yeah, timed. Yeah.
don't even know if they have the teams up in here.
Yeah,
Potentially
I'll look it
there
up some other time. We don't need to spend the
No,
time.
we don't need to be bogged down with this.
Yep.
So, yeah, not a tremendously remarkable race on the women's end of things. Lori and Michelle could make this top 20. They seem like they're opposed to do that. So let's move on to Spain.
Oh, yeah.
Had a Spanish race happening. We saw some athletes with familiar names out there. On the women's end, Viola Oberlander won. She was 34-37. And then Jezebel Kremer was 35-44, which are both respectable times. They're both respectable times in this field right now. So that would put them, that's like the fourth fastest time this year for Viola.
Yep.
And then Jezebel is in that mix, like well into the top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. She would be like sixth. Love to see it.
She's one that's like, where was this 10 years ago?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Because she was in Elite 15. Both were in the Elite 15 this year. So that, I mean, just that alone makes that race a bit more competitive than what we had in the States. And they showed out and did fairly well. I was really happy to see it.
Times made sense. I think Viola heading into it, she's gone 34 something in the past. So
Yep.
I think it was a fair course. Yeah, I mean, you just kind of expect Jezebel and Viola, if those two are in the race, they're going to be your podium right there. And Viola's just slightly faster, we've seen on the High Rock side, and I think it makes sense. Let's see her split. Viola, oh, it doesn't have a breakdown for
that was these results are very, very hard to follow. And then on the men's side, we had Alphonse de Ruiz. We know him as, I think he ended up being one of the first athletes out of the Elite 15, and then he won the age group
open.
Yeah. So
he has the
like,
open record or at some point. So in High Rocks.
I don't think, maybe. So I don't know. He's somewhere between a 61-minute and a 58-minute guy, depending on where you catch him. But he ran 31:52, which is respectable. And then Ruben Patino Vietes was 32:16. So he's also again, same thing. Like I think he's like a 59 guy.
Yeah.
In High
Ruben
Rocks.
had a result, I thought, already on the DEKA leaderboard. Do you have that pulled up? Because I have the Spain results pulled up right here. And he went 18:04 for his 5K. So guy can run. Alphonse was 18:45 and Viola was 19:17. So good run splits by them.
So question for you guys. You said something like fair course or accurate course. Is your High Rocks prejudice dipping into, is it leaking over into DEKA here? Or do you think there's an ability to make a DEKA course faster?
No, I was saying it.
It was tongue in cheek.
I was just
it was definitely making fun of it. There's standardization.
Are you worried that could happen in DEKA?
Not really.
He's not going to let it.
Not really. Well, the Madrid race is 3 laps and it's outdoors, so that's bad.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work out great for the Europeans. Yeah, Ruben had a time.
They're all going to show up.
48. I hope so.
They're all there. They're all going to run a 3-lap course. Although it's not. I mean, it's going to help.
I'll be like,
but running faster though, I think it only leads to blowing up.
What do you mean?
I think if you were able to get more steam going and you ran a little faster, I think it only comes back to hurt you on the bike or something like that. Yes, it could help, but I don't think it's going to be like a High Rocks thing where you're talking minutes different. It's like, maybe I got 20 seconds.
It'll be slower for sure. It'll be slower for sure.
You have nice rounded corners. I don't think it's going to impact as much. It might
rounded
be a
corners
bit,
would matter more, I think, than less laps.
Yeah. Who's going to show up that you heard, Rich?
I don't know.
Okay.
This will be interesting. Who do you think would do well on the men's side? What we know of them from their High Rocks.
Alex.
I still think Tim.
Oh,
I think Tim. You think Alex?
He wouldn't not do well.
Sandy. It's the same guys, right?
It'd be the same guys. I don't know if necessarily be the same order. I would think like Tobias would probably be the best.
You think so?
Just the running ability. I think his flat running is probably a little bit faster than.
Is he the best runner right now?
He might be. Or Tim. Like Tim is a good runner. I mean, he ran under 240 for a marathon, but like I don't know what he has for a 5K. What do you think about his running mechanics? Reckon.
I think he shows promise as a runner. Like he looks like this is really difficult, right? To look at someone's form and say what they can do. But if I look at his form, I think he has the ability to be faster solely based on form than Tobias.
Really?
Just based on like looks of aggression of what could you tap into. But at the same time, he looks unpracticed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to know what I think would crush it? Tiago.
Mm-hmm.
He's fast.
How
I could
fast?
see that.
Wasn't he 28 something? But I know that, you know, his time he put up a ridiculous 57 something earlier, but you got to remember he did.
You can't take your
high.
you can't take your high rocks time. Your
I know that
high
but
rocks time.
But he's
like,
running
you're a fast
faster
runner.
than some of the people we've seen do well in DEKAFIT in the US.
Because 28 minutes for 28 something in an 8K in isolation is not fast.
I know as on the roads, but if I'm saying in that same race, didn't he have a faster 8K split than you? I thought he had the fastest at World Championships.
I understand what you're saying, but if we apply that logic to Dylan, we don't come to the correct conclusion.
2 years apart, sorry.
Yeah, like if we look at Dylan's high rock split and be like, he's the fastest, he's one of the top 3 fastest runners in the field, you'd be like, well, no, that might be his mile PR pace. Like we're not really sure what Dylan
split. Yeah.
There might be someone else, like someone like a Dieter Schwarzkopf could probably actually be pretty well in a DEKAFIT. It might not be
the 16 guys. To 30 being the real stars.
What's that?
So like the 16 to 30s could be good. You want it? Another guy in Europe, Eugenio Bianchi. Guy can run with anybody in Europe. And he's starting to do high rocks. He was like 61 or 62. Very proficient on machines. He was a world champion at roller skiing. You know, that guy's going to crush the ski erg. I'm sure.
Is that what you were doing?
No, he had the poles with the really long skis.
Would you have saved yourself if you had the poles?
I should have just slid. That's end of the case.
Upon review, should have.
Yeah. But anyway, that's. I think that he'd be someone who might not be in the top 15 high rocks level, who could be in the top 10 or so when we get to DEKA, just because of his aggressiveness. He's run shoulder to shoulder and pulled away from Manuel Defoe and Jeremy Gachet. I've seen some of the races over in Europe. That guy's got some wheels.
Yeah, and he is a little thicker than some of those guys as well. I look at this now after getting Wallaced. I look at things and think, if you can get through the ski erg without being destroyed, when I try to rate who has potential at DEKA, it's who can do the bike dead ball without it destroying their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And of that group, I think Tiago, if you took that piece out, would be one of the high flyers.
For sure.
But can he go from ski erg under duress to fan bike, dead ball, and be fine? And I would see someone like Sandy could maybe do that.
Yeah.
And I would see someone like, even though he's taller, Tobias can do that. But can some of these other guys put out like that? Because even though High Rocks has challenging things, they're early. The power output is very early in High Rocks, and then it goes to functional afterwards. The power of DEKA is late. So it's like, can you survive the sled? Sure. Can you ski well? Sure. But you're skiing fresh and you're doing the sled fresh. You're not having to do things late.
If you look at who's done well in the US at High Rocks, it's Rich, Kent, Magida. They're right in the same territory as a lot of these top Europeans. Those guys are going to do just fine.
Yeah, but how you get there, I think, matters. Like Dylan's in the same range too, and he hasn't lit the world on fire in DEKA. He hasn't gone for it as much, but I think how you run your 60 flat really does matter.
Yeah.
Like, are you surviving the sleds? Are you surviving some of the stations, or can you weaponize those? And you have to be able to weaponize the assault bike.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes a level of power output that a lot of good athletes have shown not to be able to handle at such a high output going into and out of it.
And it's just like you get to a level of being out of aerobic control where you're having to deal with a lot of the anaerobic interference, where in High Rocks, there is that on the sled push in particular, but then the running is so slow that you can kind of get back to it. You're not set at a spot for 10 minutes. That like doesn't exist is like I use it all the time. Marathon versus 5K. You know.
So
the
if we're
feeling
looking at
is
like the
different.
women's side, Michaela Norman, do you think that she has the power to do well on that? Like Tara isn't a massive athlete and she does just fine on it.
I think Michaela would crush.
Well, I'm not saying massive. I'm saying ability to generate power late in the race under duress. I think that we've seen when Tiago struggles, it's in that department. So I if he does great, I'm not shocked by it, but I think people underestimate the bike. And I think they underestimate what the ski does to them because they're used to doing it in a different version.
Mm-hmm.
The ski punched me right in the face. And I
5
was
seconds
shocked
slower
by
or
that.
faster makes a big difference in ski.
Yeah, and getting there trashed is so strange because you don't do that often in training. Even when you're trashed on the ski erg in training, oftentimes it's your trash from ski erg.
And when do these athletes
after rep after rep?
And when do these athletes see the ski erg in high rocks? Right away. After
That's what I'm saying.
Nothing compromised from run. They're just going
Yeah.
at a relatively comfortable running pace heading into it.
And there's so much to prep for in high rocks that you almost don't have time to do a lot of compromised ski erg work.
Right.
There are people that do it, but you can't possibly make that your priority because you have to do other things under duress so often.
Later in the race. Yeah.
So yeah, if you haven't, like Rich went in on it. He understood the demands, and Kent went in on it. It's just, I think it's just a little different. They're the same stations, but they're not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair. So in terms of this year, yeah, I think that they would have a hard time across the board, right? Like
I think they'll all do well.
They'll do well, but it wouldn't be the same. Like, and they might be mixed up in terms of the results. Like they might flip flop, but I don't think it would add up to their high rocks results.
So you don't see a first time they'll just crack a good mark. Because I know that Ryland, for instance, he just crushed it in his Deka mile. And we were like, where the hell did that come from?
But he wasn't training for high rocks.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that they'd all do well. I think you easily have a bunch, probably 5+ people in Europe right now on the men's side who are capable of going sub 30 or faster, I would say, on their first shot. And then for the women's side, you probably have 3 or 4 who could 33 change, 34.5 or faster. You just saw Viola go 34.17. So I don't see why some other ones near her ability level wouldn't be able to do the same.
I think if you gave them 2 races, you have 5 or 6 guys that would break 31. I think in their debut, it's going to, how does it not get out hot? Yeah. It's going to get out very hot, and that's going to negate. They're all going to learn on their first one. So this isn't me saying the Europeans are no good at this. It's they haven't had chances yet. And they're going to have to learn what Nick Riker learned and what everyone learned in theirs, which is you just can't try to win it by running away early.
And they're very aggressive on
they don't start out slow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how about Lucas Storath? Do you think he'd be good?
Probably, yeah.
He's been away for a couple of years, but he just kind of has that power and just aggressive running style. If he, reined it back a little bit at the beginning, I could see him doing some damage.
I think he's made for it 5 years ago.
Yeah, just he's 41 or 2 now. Yeah. That's the.
Yep. And he's a freak at 41 or 42, whatever he is. But
yeah, bottom line, I think it's cool that there are events happening outside of just the U.S. Might not see as many of them travel over this year for the World Championship necessarily, but I think that, the ball is rolling. You had the event in Malaysia last year. People are aware of this. I'm sure that if they ever have a race in Australia, you've got plenty of people who, we've seen what Chris Woolley can do. That there's some talented women down there as well.
Yeah, some Australians that are going to be good.
Yeah, sure. I think that give it a year, like let the ball keep rolling. You're going to really see this becoming an international competition.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Hope we get at least a little bit of international travel this year to get people out to Dallas. That'd be fun. But
they will shake up the World Championship.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Europeans, absolutely.
Yeah,
it'd be awesome. So a couple more things just to kind of wrap this up. Ryan Kent set a Deka strong world record.
11:05.
So fast.
So
is that sub 11 at sea level?
Probably. So
yeah, for sure.
We recorded an episode of Mile Hybrid to kind of redo the whole damn name now because hybrid, that word stinks. So we recorded. He came out, just said it. The ski erg was fucked up. The
Oh,
ski,
really?
it wasn't a concept 2, and he did it in like 132. And like they
but he's
got
still probably 11:20 or faster.
no doubt he's in a great spot. He's in a
Yeah.
great spot.
He was
But,
going
like,
to qualify anyway. Like,
This was a
Does
gym
it
that,
count? Not being concept 2? Like I know Yancey messaged us in a group afterwards, like we control all these things, but this is kind of the thing we were talking about, that
yeah,
you're at the mercy of the gym, even if they say.
the gym's like, look, we bought these tanks. Like, this is like, I don't know what they said. Look, we bought all this stuff. We affiliated. We want to do an event. We have this skier. It says it does the same as concept 2. Are we good? And it's probably like, sure, have your event. And then Ryan Kent shows up. Right. And it's like, oh, like what could happen at this event? This thing says it reads the same. Maybe it does. It doesn't. And it clearly doesn't. Right. It was like 10 to 12 seconds.
132 is, you're not doing
that. Ain't happening. That ain't happening. Not yet. Maybe down the road, but like right now, it's like, because he'll do 142, which is about as fast as anybody will do.
Anybody. Yep.
142 to 144. So, like, they're gonna have to figure out something with this. Either they need to have these strong and mile qualifiers for the elites at the DEKAFIT events, like just have like from 2 to 4, the warm-up section is going to be DEKA strong, and we're going to run whatever, 10 to 20 heats or whatever.
Need a performance institute.
We definitely need a performance institute. We need to have that DEKAFIT. Ooh, what if we made the DEKA dog? No, that'd be negative. I was going to say if we did the DEKA dog like Eliminator style.
I'd get eliminated right away. I'd be fine with that.
Every time you're not last, you don't have to eat an extra hot dog.
Oh.
Yeah, that we'll flip it. I'll flip it.
Yeah.
And then, or they have to have it at like a roadshow. Like the roadshow has to show up with equipment and be like, this is a certified course. Because like this is like if this happened and Kent didn't do anything wrong. This happens and we see some of these times they're showing up. You're like, oh, okay, maybe these are all machines that are just, maybe there's Schwinn's out there cranking. People are like, I'm a beast. The fan's like
Schwinn's,
a handheld fan.
25-second.
Yeah.
Speaking of fast, during the relay, Kevin Gregory, 15 seconds for his 25 calories on the official air bike. That's so stupid. 15 seconds. Zach Vogel did it in 17 last year.
Yeah, because I thought Corning did it in like 16 or 17. So Bubbles is getting better than them at this.
Yeah, but
it
Bubbles
doesn't even
also had a
compute to
break.
me.
Like that has to be like 115 RPMs, like something crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so question for you. If you got there in a race and ran in and stopped and shook out for 15 seconds and then hammered it in 15 and then rested for 30, would that be a net gain for you?
Why
or
don't
if you
do
got
that
in and ran right in and hammered it in 20 and rested for 25 seconds?
How would that work in track if you just decided to slow down, you rest in place?
It's different. We have different modalities.
And you kick for 600 meters.
Yeah, you just do
if
a
it's
really
going to
hard
take you
200.
70 seconds, but you come in and decide to get it done in 20 or 25, let's say 25, and then rest for 40, you save 5 seconds on the net. And how do you come out of that? How would that work?
Worse.
It's just going to matter, I guess, like how well you can produce and lactate and also get rid of the byproduct. Like
how often do you,
because it's crazy work, but if it's only 20 seconds,
you're
or 15
flooded.
in his case.
But if would you be able to replicate 20 more seconds right after that? No.
Why would you have to?
I'm saying, like, would you be able to go back into race pace?
Well, if you got 30 to 35 seconds, I don't know.
Whenever I have 40 seconds rest during some workout and like I step off the treadmill, just walking around, and then I look at my watch, I'm like, what? That's been 15 seconds already. I just don't see the recoverability there.
I don't know. That was my question. I've never sold out for 15 or 20 seconds on that bike.
It just sounds nasty.
Yeah, that's really nasty.
Would it almost be better to not take the initial rest then at that point and then rest for a minute after? Or
come right in, hit it, and try to get it down in 20.
Go
25.
At your first
25, rest for 35. Rest for 45. And then go.
Like hands on your knees. Like
Kevin listens to the show, so
if
he wants to chime in, let us know how that would work. Because he's the only one capable of it that I'm aware of.
That's pretty funny.
In middle of a race, let's say, Rich, you get in there at a normal race. If you wanted to, how fast could you get it done if you just went after it?
In a DEKAFIT?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to finish the rest of the race in a respectable effort?
Or no,
Or
the
you-
just
or is
go,
that-
just
is
putting
that
Just
out.
go. Just go.
Putting
Like,
out.
that's
I mean,
it.
finish and your race is done at that point, but you've done
40
all
seconds
race pace
maybe.
work.
Oh, so you couldn't do 20 if you wanted to.
No. If I got on it fresh, like this is what I'm going to do today.
Yeah.
I was doing that last year, and I would do it in like, I think 25 seconds.
Yeah, I was gonna
Okay.
say
So it wouldn't even
27,
be
28
viable
seconds
for
for
someone
me.
like you.
No. Like someone like maybe like Hunter is someone that could potentially do something like that. Maybe
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah, just leave it and walk
Rylan.
for a minute. Don't lay down. Just
get out
walk
of
around the
sight.
course.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
It's weird. We haven't seen that strategy yet. I'm sure that it would
kind
work.
of.
BK, you in for the road show?
I think we have a camping thing. What's the date?
I tell you the date like every week.
Yeah, I was gonna say
And
this
you're
is
like,
like
yeah,
just
I think
get
I'm
it-
camping.
Write
Every
it
week.
down.
You're talking to other
Every-
people.
Nope. Every week I tell you, hey, BK.
You've mentioned it like one time.
Nope.
What's the date?
I think it's September 2nd.
Second. I want to say we're camping. Yeah, we're
Memorial
up in
Day
the
weekend.
UP.
So when are you going to do DEKA? Weekend before PA?
My only options would be either PA or Orlando.
When's Puerto Rico?
Then sometime in July. I think he's probably going to go with Pennsylvania or
There's
Orlando.
there's a Canadian one. You're
Yeah,
not that far from there.
Ontario. I heard Jesse
What do you mean?
Bruce wants to do that
That's
one.
like 10 to
Great.
12 hours of driving for me.
Light work.
Hi.
All right. So August, what? That'd be like August 26th.
Yep, that's PA.
Pennsylvania.
So PA could work.
Let's
And then
go.
what's Orlando?
September 16th, I think.
Both of those could work.
One of them's gonna work, so do
One
it.
of them has to. It's my only chance.
Orlando's gonna be you're gonna have more competition and less you're not gonna get bumped out. You could run really well in Pennsylvania and you're like, crap.
Do you, do you get in the fast heat though?
I
Puerto
don't
Rico
think you
is-
want to be in the fast heat if you're trying to be a fringe qualifier.
I was last year and I set like a 30 something second PR just hanging on for dear
I'm
life.
no Jack Bauer. I can't poop and beat people.
That's true.
I've never beat anyone in a race that I pooped during.
Have you ever pooped in a race?
I don't think it ever escaped my shorts.
Oh, well, I mean, it escaped somewhere else, but yeah.
Ontario is July 29th.
Too soon.
Lancashire is
You can go to the
August
UK.
19th.
The closer to September, the better. We
Well,
got to build
imagine
some
being
fitness
in
here.
September. September 16th, just buy the flight, Orlando.
Go to
Let's
Disney.
do it. Rich, which one you doing? Or both?
Definitely PA. Kicking around doing back-to-back PA in Indiana. I
Oh.
don't love the date on Orlando, and I don't love the trip to Orlando. But
That's
maybe.
Obvious.
And I think the Orlando trip is an easy trip.
a lot of flights in and out.
If you're only there to show up, compete, and get out.
Yeah. If it was at that monster convention center, that'd be cool.
Orange County Convention Center.
I think it's a beast, but who knows? It'll probably be like some Walt Disney Annex. It's like way out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know.
I mean, minimum 10 weeks I need right now. I just have no discernible fitness.
You just did that sim. You're good to go.
I didn't say I did well. I ran it.
That's
Will you
coming.
just leave the venue if Marcus Wallace is there?
I'm not going wherever he's going.
That's Debo.
Marcus is injured. He just no-showed Carolina at the
Yeah,
start
he was on the
line.
list.
He did. Then we got
That's why you don't go to Orlando. He injured his calf at Disney.
that Disney takes out Marcus. What's it's gonna do to us?
I'm not built for that.
You're still doing Palmerton?
Allegedly.
All right. We won't commit.
I don't want to.
That's 2
anymore.
weeks. That's 2
I
weeks.
called
now.
Kirk yesterday to try to talk me out of going because I don't want to go because I
The
feel like I have
Palmerton?
crap
No,
fitness.
Bracken.
Did he tell you to quit being a whiny baby?
Basically, he said you got to go just eat it. Just take it.
Just take your lumps. You'll be fine. You're gonna do great.
Yeah.
Last
I'm
thing.
overweight and slow. I'm running 3.5 times a week. I don't want to go.
half a time.
It's
They're
crazy to get that half run.
just like
Average Jack.
a quarter of a
Rich
podium
also made fun
finisher.
of it.
Yeah, but he doesn't care about stats.
I was teeing up Jack. I was like,
Yeah.
Jack, here you go. Take this.
Yep,
And
it's right there.
I know you want to say it.
Simple. Got to get the joke in.
Yeah. I'm encouraging
I'm
Jack.
running 20 miles a week. And I'm
That's like-
11 pounds over race weight.
You're fine.
11 pound of muscle.
Double sandbag carry. You'll be good to go.
1 pound a day. Just
Flat.
do that.
Flat sandbag.
Flat pancake that's now like 35 pounds.
The ground is flat.
That's fine. Horizontal.
Anyway, I don't want to go, but I'll probably go.
Go
You're
and
doing
just
it.
see.
Doing
Go for the coverage. Go so you can be the man on the give us our intel. Hybrid Fitness Media is also doing some power rankings for hybrid fitness.
Matt released them while we were on the
athletes.
episode.
They're released now?
Yep.
So go check those out over at Hybrid Fitness Media.
There's too much hybrid now. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Bad
You're talking about your
word.
podcast. You're talking about Matt's little pet project. I don't know what's happening.
It's not a great word. Is it out there? Where is it?
Not every
Right here,
podcast has the word
Hybrid
OCR.
Fitness
in it.
Media. He's got our top list right there.
Does it have everybody ranked?
It says the current voters are me, Dave Claxton, Matt B. Davis, Ian K, Rich Ryan, and Marcus Wallace. So it looks like we were part of some panel or something and then voted for people.
There have been a lot of people on that list who have beat me in a hybrid
He
competition.
made it as a reel. I hate when he does this, and then he doesn't list them, so you got to like kind of watch the reel.
There-
order. That's just
He
this
has
is
a
so-
basic.
This is
He
social
has a
media
basic 1 to
bullshit.
20. The website has a 1 to 20 table.
I mean, no one's
Hate
going to the website.
that. No, just put it on the.
Yeah.
People complain in the comments every time.
I'm gonna.
Why
I'm
didn't-
gonna. Yeah, just
He has
list
2
it.
slides.
Bracken,
When it's
who's
a-
your top 3 right
It's a
now?
reel you can't stop.
Top
it to
3
see.
male hybrid athletes.
And female, because we did both. Yep. In order.
Are we taking Deka and Hyrox into
It's
consideration?
how you can take Go Ruck games, Battle Blunt, whatever you want.
Then I'm going to be real disrespectful and then to everyone else and just say Hunter, Kent, Rich.
Hmm.
Top
And then
3.
for women,
Top 3 was Hunter, Kent, Alex.
yeah, and he just only done Hyrox. I haven't seen him anywhere else. So until he puts another mark, I can't vote for him.
Who's that, Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you
And
could say
then-
the same thing about Hunter, but we've seen him do so many adjacent things that everyone knows he would come out and be really good at Deka.
He has a deck of strong mark, technically. Sub
Technically,
12.
yes.
Yeah.
Dude,
So-
Matt-
Women. Who
Then
you got?
women's easy. Lauren and Meg straddling the top step. I can't give one over the other.
classic hedge.
I'm going to hedge my bets. And then third, give it to Tara.
She is not third.
You're
The
sticking with
collective
Deca.
group went with Michaela.
I wasn't trying to guess what they said. I was giving
Yeah,
the
yeah.
correct
I'm
answers.
aware. We're seeing how it would have been if you were a pollster.
Again, we're voting, and it's her. She's not at fault for not having done any other hybrid
Yeah.
stuff that I'm aware of.
And then it's like
She
Bridget
does
Brown when
CrossFit.
she's it's like Bridget
she'll be
Brown when
good.
she's not pregnant. She's definitely up there, but like, what's her current fitness? Same with Magida, for instance. Like
That's right.
with his back, how do you know what's he currently versus what's his peak? It's a hard.
Neither his back nor her pregnancy are my fault, so I'm not taking into consideration.
Yep.
I appreciate you. I'm sixth
Glad
in this
that's
list,
the
and I think
case.
that's could potentially be a little bit high. If I'm
They're
looking
world
at it
champ in one of
objectively.
them. How
It's
many other world
true.
champs are even on the list?
You just haven't seen me in a
And
high
if you
rocks,
got
so, like,
the
what's this
chance
guy,
to
what can this
race
guy even
some
do
of
in
these
high rocks?
races, yeah.
This guy can't do shit in high rocks.
If they were one-on-one, I like to think everything one-on-one knockout style. You put Hunter one-on-one with any of these people on the list, and they are not having a good day.
Yeah.
Put Kent one-on-one with anyone on the list other than Hunter, and they're not going to enjoy their day.
Mhm.
Hunter's going to enjoy that day until the times where Kent beats him. And Rich, you put him one-on-one with any of those people in Deca right now, and I think he beats him. And you put him one-on-one with any of those guys above him other than Hunter and Kent in High Rocks, and I think at worst it's 50-50.
Yeah, very competitive.
Maybe Alex might not be 50-50 if I'm being totally objective.
Tobias, right? He's given top 5 a run for his money.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
Matt
it's-
put Jeffrey Voisin on the list twice. He's very impressed. Very impressed with Jeffrey. Like, yeah, this is great. Double points for him.
Good job, Jeffrey. Joffrey.
You get
Check
to
out the list. You'll see how we like them.
All
It's
right,
getting real long. I gotta go with some lunch.
we're done. I'll talk to you guys soon.
What?